blood. Dreams didn't make us kings. Dragons did.
The threat of war looms.
There is no war so hateful as a war between kin.
I mean to fight this war and win it.
I will not be thought weak. I wish to spill blood.
And no war so bloody as a war between dragons. Soon they will not even remember what it was that began the war in the first place. When the desire to kill and burn takes hold, reason is forgotten.
We cannot hide in our castle waiting for war to come to us.
Good. To war, then.
Her son sits my throne.
There has been no word from Prince Daemon.
We must press what advantage we do have.
And what is that?
Dragons.
If dragons begin fighting dragons, we invite our own destruction.
It'll be savage beyond all compare.
Always coming and going, aren't you? And I have to clean up afterwards.
You will die in this place.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to our House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 3 live discussion. And man, did we have some very interesting scenes in this episode, I must say. And man, did Alys Rivers make quite an impression in very little screen time. I wish we could have gotten a little bit more Alys Rivers, but I know we're going to get a lot more of her throughout the rest of the season. But man, what an entrance the Witch Queen of Harrenhal made last evening. Great stuff. Cannot wait to see a little bit more from her and Daemon and everything else we have to look forward to that's going on at Harrenhal. We're going to do a lot of talking about Harrenhal and some of the visions that Daemon was having in this episode, because that was, for me, definitely the most intriguing part of the episode, and had some very real callbacks to Daenerys and her kind of vision when she was in the House of the Undying. Super similar vibes. So welcome one, welcome all. We're going to be diving into all things House of the Dragon this evening, and cannot wait to see what you guys have to say about episode 3. What did you like about it? What did you not like about it? Definitely sound off throughout the night. We want to know. First and foremost, we got Kayla in the house, who has become another new member of the channel. Thank you so much, Kayla, my awesome A Song of Ice and Fire co-host. So glad to have you here, and welcome. You guys know what that means. We're already 1 minute in, and I already owe out some woes. I already owe out a woe for our good pal, Kayla.
Whoa!
Thank you for becoming a member. Welcome. We got D-Wag in the house. What is up, D-Wag? Good to see you, my friend. House Stark? Hell yes. House Stark represent. This might be a Targaryen show, but House Stark will always be near and dear to me. Absolutely. Got Henry Bemis in the house. What is up, Henry Bemis? Good to see you, my friend. When we said we wanted to see more of Aemond, this isn't what we meant. Yeah, I must say, I mentioned it in my episode 3 review. I must say, full frontal Aemond was definitely not something I had on my bingo card for the evening. But hey, I guess, you take what you can get. We got Danger V in the house. What is up? And as Danger V brings up, very, very good point. Is it a HBO joint if someone doesn't get a Naked in Westeros? I mean, you might be right. I mean, considering this is HBO, this is a Game of Thrones show, I guess no nudity would probably be a little bit weirder. So yeah, you're probably right. You are probably right there. Got Zachary Welch in the house. What is up, Zachary? Good to see you, my friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Got Mother of Dragons in the house. What is up, Mother of Dragons? Good morrow to everyone, and good morrow to everyone in the chat as well. I hope everyone is doing swell. Hope everybody had a phenomenal weekend. And I know Monday is here, and the beginning of the week has started, but we can still have some fun and talk some House of the Dragon before we all have to shuffle off to work tomorrow. Welcome, welcome. Got Jess in the house. What is up, Jess? Good to see you as well. Got Shelly in the house as well. What is up, Shelly? I see my pal Margie M is in the building as well. Yes, hell yes. Yes, indeed. Indeed. We got Barbara Webb in the house. What is up, Barbara? Tuning in from Texas. What is up, Texas? Always awesome to see some Texas people in the chat. The Lone Star State. Hell yes. I need to visit one of these days. I hear Texas is awesome. Awesome. We got Eamon, my son, in the house. What is up, Eamon, my son? Just subscribe. Oh, thank you so much for that, my friend. I very much appreciate that. Love talking to Song of Ice and Fire with everybody, and we always go live at least 2 or 3 times a week. So welcome. So glad to have you here. Welcome. Got Channel in the house. What is up, Channel? That is a horrible Valley Girl accent from Alys. The accent did kind of throw me for a little bit of a loop as well. I was definitely expecting maybe a little bit more of a British English kind of Game of Thronesy accent, but it was weird. Yeah, it was almost like Valley Girl Californian accent. It was a little weird. But I guess we'll have to wait until we get some more dialogue from her. It was a very quick little line, but yeah, I did notice the voice myself as well. It sounded not very Westerosi, and I guess that could just be them trying to add to the mystique and the mystery of Alys Rivers. It seems like the show is very much trying to paint Alys Rivers like the Melisandre of this series, and her and Melisandre definitely have a lot in common as well. They have similar abilities, similar mysterious backgrounds. So yeah, it seems like they are. It seems like this is going to be our Melisandre for this series. And Alys Rivers is a great character. I mean, she does some phenomenal stuff both before and after the dance as well. So I think people are going to like Alys Rivers, and I'm looking forward to seeing some more of her. Got Nanny Vagar in the house. What is up, Nana Vagar? Good to see you. I found it strange that Alicent still hasn't had a scene with Aemond yet, especially with her thinking he's so dangerous. You would think she might talk to him. Yeah, we haven't really had any one-on-ones between Alicent and Aemond. It seems like the only scenes they have shared together have been scenes when they're at the small council chamber. But we haven't had a one-on-one between Aemond and Alicent yet, I don't think, either. And I was hoping to see a little something like that as well, like you mentioned, especially how season 1 ended with Aemond, killing Luke. I was really looking forward to seeing Alicent and the rest of the Greens' reaction to that, because it's a very different reaction in the book, where Alicent is kind of, appalled by it, but Aegon in the book is not appalled by it. He's so proud that his brother kind of struck the first blow. So I was kind of looking forward to seeing those reactions for the Greens on the show when Aemond first gets back to the Red Keep. But yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get that. We got BB in the house. What is up, BB? The tapestry was updated in the opening scenes. I have heard that. I didn't even see the tapestry credits when I was watching last night. So I'll have to go back and rewatch it and pay attention to the credit scene. But I did see a lot of people saying they made some slight alterations to the opening tapestry, which is pretty cool. If it's something they're going to be updating throughout the season as more and more bloody events start to happen. I like that. That's not bad. That is not bad. We got Bob Cam in the house. What is up, Bob Cam? Loving Mysaria. Yeah, I really like Mysaria much better this year as well. I wasn't a huge fan of Mysaria in season 1. Not that I didn't like her, but I feel like Mysaria in season 2 is really coming into her own a little bit more. And I really like the relationship and the dynamic that is developing between her and Rhaenyra in particular, where they're really starting to kind of develop a bond, which does kind of happen in Fire and Blood as well. Mysaria at one point does become the kind of unofficial Master of Whisperers for Rhaenyra, and it seems like they're heading in a similar direction there as well. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. We got John in the house. What is up? John DeVoist. What is up? Greetings from Northern California. Excuse me. Welcome, Northern Cali. So awesome to have Northern Cali in the building. Welcome, John. You are most welcome here indeed. We got Red Mayleys in the building. What is up, Red Mayleys? The Ellie Ray scene made me feel like this was a sitcom. Felt so devoid of logic. I really hope they didn't mess up Brooke's rest. Alice, I think I don't know. Maybe I had a totally different take on the Alicent and Rhaenyra scene at the end. I thought it was some of the better character development we've gotten on the series. Yes, on the surface, it's, you're seeing Rhaenyra sneak into King's Landing. I get the critiques that some people had for it. But I feel like at no point was she in any risk of getting discovered, especially being disguised as a septon like that. No one was ever going to pay her any mind. She was really at no risk of ever getting caught. But I actually really liked that scene between Rhaenyra and Alicent at the end. I thought it was pretty good dialogue. I thought it was really good acting from both of them. But in terms of the lasting effects that conversation is going to have, I think that's where that scene really starts to shine. Because now Alicent has it in her head that, holy crap, maybe I was wrong. Maybe all of this started because I was wrong and I misinterpreted what Viserys was trying to say on his deathbed. So that seed of doubt has been planted into Alicent's mind, and that is only going to continue to grow throughout the season. And not only that, Rhaenyra also got some much needed confirmation for her as well, because I have to imagine there was a part of Rhaenyra that might have thought, what if Alicent is telling the truth? What if Viserys really did choose Aegon in his last moments? And here in this scene, Rhaenyra gets that kind of breath of relief, that confirmation that no, Viserys didn't cast her aside at the end. And I think this whole thing is going to shake Alicent's belief system as well. So much of Alicent's character has been crafted around her faith, and around her faith thinking that Aegon is supposed to be the king after what she heard from Viserys. But now that she has that doubt crept in, knowing that she probably misinterpreted what Viserys was saying, I think that's going to throw Alicent's entire foundation for a loop. So I actually thought it was really good character development in that show. But I totally understand if people didn't like it. I mean, people get something different out of different scenes all the time, which is totally cool. And that's why we love having these discussions, so we can kind of compare and contrast. But yeah, I really enjoyed the scene myself personally, but totally cool if you guys didn't like it. That is totally cool. That's what we want to hear. What did you guys like? What did you not like? Definitely let us know. Hell yes. Can't wait to see Adrian Tarback and Thaddeus Rowan. Yes! The two Allens, John Roxton and Black Trumbo, can come a close second. Hell, I mean, we really do have some phenomenal characters to look forward to, new characters to look forward to, don't we? Me, in particular, I'm really looking forward to seeing the Winter Wolves. I don't know if we'll see them in season 2 or not, or if they're going to hold off on bringing the Winter Wolves in until season 3. I hope we get a little glimpse of them. But that, in terms of the characters I am most looking forward to seeing in season 2, it was definitely Alys Rivers and the Winter Wolves. Now that we have seen Alys Rivers, I feel like Gail Rankin is great in the role. I had a feeling Gail was going to be good in the role, and just seeing that little bit of dialogue. Yes, the voice was a little weird, but I feel like her vibe, her aesthetic, the creepy factor was all there. I feel like she will be a pretty good Alys Rivers for the show. Hopefully. I'm hopeful for Gail Rankin. Hopeful indeed. Let's see what else we got. Scrolling down, I see Crazy Mad in the house. What is up, Crazy Mad? Good to see you, my friend. We got Ty Briggs in the house. They finally teased on the Sea Smoke situation. I noticed things were bring up on your lives get at least partially addressed. I know it's crazy coincidence at the end of the day, if nothing else. Yeah, we kind of end up talking about something, and then boom, the next episode they kind of address it. So it's a really strange coincidence. But yeah, you're right, Ty. We did get that little kind of one throwaway line about Sea Smoke, with Rhaenyra mentioning that Sea Smoke has been restless as of late. And hopefully at some point we do get like real official confirmation that Laenor really maybe did die in Essos somewhere. I feel like that would be the perfect explanation as to why Sea Smoke is a little bit restless now, because the bond between Dragon and Ryder is pretty strong, especially how long that Laenor was bonded to Sea Smoke. If Laenor does die, I have to imagine that is something Sea Smoke would probably feel, even from across the Narrow Sea. So hopefully we get a little bit of that confirmation that Laenor is indeed dead, but I really enjoyed at least getting a little bit in terms of them at least addressing the Sea Smoke thing. So that's true. Very good, true. Very good. True indeed. Let's see what else we got. I see Lord Nemesis in the house. What is up, Lord Nemesis? Good to see you as well, my friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's see what else we got. Let me scroll down a little bit more. I see Ray Barnes in the house. What is up, Ray Barnes? Always good to see you as well, my friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. Hell yes. Hell yes. All right, now let's dive into some of this, shall we? I like how spooky they made Harrenhal. I thought her voice was off. Glad it wasn't just me. Yeah, it was a little bit weird for sure. But I really did enjoy the aesthetic of Harrenhal. I feel like they nailed the kind of creepy factor of Harrenhal, which is something I was really looking forward to seeing. Harrenhal is, of course, a very famous place within the world of A Song of Ice and Fire. It's known to be very haunted and cursed. And I love the kind of history lesson that we get in this episode as well, where Simon Strong, the uncle of Lord Larys, who surrenders Harrenhal to Daemon in this episode, starts to talk about how there hasn't been a fire here since Balerion the Black Dread burned Harren the Black and all of his sons. That was a really cool line. I love the callbacks to Aegon the Conqueror when we get those on the show. And if nothing else, we know that Simon Strong is very much not a fan of Larry's. He knows damn well Larry's killed his own brother and father. So he has no loyalty to him. But I really did enjoy the creepy factor of Harrenhal. It really did come across like this kind of ancient, cursed castle. It really had that vibe. And then when you get into Daemon's visions and what exactly are causing Daemon's visions, it just adds to the creepy factor of Harrenhal. So I feel like it was portrayed very well. It had that kind of spooky, haunted castle vibe. So I really enjoyed that. Definitely enjoyed that. Let's see what else we got. I feel like I am going to cry for those gorgeous dragons when the things start to go down. I am right there with you, Natalie. I'm not ready for it. I feel like a lot of us aren't ready for it. And that's why I have never been Team Black or Team Green. I am always Team Dragon. The dragons are the real victim in all of this, I would say. But yes, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to start seeing all of these phenomenal dragons start dropping like flies. Yeah, not looking forward to it. Not looking forward to it. We got River in the house. What is up, River Miss Faye? Good to see you. Love that spooky Harrenhal. Indeed, it really was probably one of the highlights of the episode, at least for me personally. The Harrenhal scenes with Daemon and Alys definitely were the standout for sure. And then the very prophetic line that we get at the very end of the episode with Alys when Daemon finally wakes up from his dream. Just so creepy and so foreshadowing. I mean, I'm sure a lot of us instantly thought about the battle above the God's Eye. It was good. I really enjoyed what they did with Alys. My only critique was I wish we would have gotten a little bit more of Daemon and Alys at Harrenhal. I'm sure we will in the next few episodes because Daemon, for all intents and purposes, if Fire and Blood is any guide, Daemon will be spending at least a good amount of time at Harrenhal, at least a few episodes probably. So I'm sure we'll get some more interesting Daemon and Alys Rivers stuff. And it looks like Daemon is going to be having some more visions as well. Because if we look back to some of the trailers for House of the Dragon Season 2, there's a few visions that Daemon has that weren't in this episode. One vision in particular, where Daemon finds himself in an empty Iron Throne room walking towards the Iron Throne. And I get the feeling that is also going to be one of these Harrenhal, Alys Rivers visions as well, because it's very highly unlikely that Daemon would be in King's Landing this early in Season 2, especially in an empty throne room like that. So I think we are going to have some more visions to look forward to, for sure. For sure. Great stuff. Great stuff, guys. This episode was good, except for the end for me personally, and that's cool. I know it seems like a lot of people were not too happy with the end, and maybe I just got something totally different out of it in terms of what that scene is going to represent for the future going forward, in terms of the doubt creeping into Alicent's mind, knowing that maybe she really did misinterpret the series. I feel like that's going to have lasting consequences on Alicent's kind of faith in her foundation as a whole. So I enjoyed the character development in that scene, but it's totally cool if people didn't. That is awesome. Awesome stuff. Damon's dream was proof he told Blood and Cheese to kill the kid if they don't find Daemon. And I think that's definitely a little bit more confirmation as well. I think a lot of us already knew that. I know the show kind of cuts away right as Cheese asks him, what if we can't find Daemon? And the scene just kind of cuts away. But I think all of us, knowing Daemon, I think that was very much Daemon's instruction. If you can't find Aemon, any son will do. And I get the feeling that is the orders he gave to Cheese. And yeah, it seems like that vision only kind of confirmed that much more. So yeah, you're right, Ty. You are right, Ty. We got Brandon Plank in the house. What is up, Brandon, for a $10 super chat? Thank you so much, my friend. Wow, thank you. Rips Bong. Hell yes, we are a cannabis-friendly channel here. Hell yes, let the cannabis flow. Rips Bong, how do dragons blow out the candles on their birthday cake? I don't know. I have a feeling they don't. They probably deep fry the entire cake at that point. Shit, they might have to get their rider to do it at that point. But thank you so much, Brandon, for the $10 super chat. Much appreciated, my friend. And you guys know what that means in the chat. A super chat came through, so I owe a whoa in return. Whoa! Thank you, thank you, thank you. And it looks like we have another super chat from my pal Crazy Mad. Thank you so much, Crazy Mad. Awesome stuff for $9.99. The highlight for me was the dragon chasing down Cole. Ooh, yes, very, very awesome scene. And of course, it's our first proper look at Baela and Moondancer, which we knew was going to be one of the 5 new dragons in season 2. But yeah, I'm right there with you, man. That was one of the cooler scenes of this of the entire episode, seeing Baela and Moondancer just chase down Sir Crispy Crispin, and the looks on Crispin's face, and in particular Gwaine Hightower's face when they are getting chased by Moondancer was absolutely hilarious, and I made sure to get a screenshot of it just to share and have a laugh with everybody. This was a really great scene. It was a really great chase scene. Baela and Moondancer look absolutely awesome. I love the design of Moondancer as well. Moondancer's design is absolutely gorgeous with the olive kind of skin like that, which is very similar to how Moondancer is described in the book. And I love the head of Moondancer in particular. I love how they have given Moondancer this kind of weird dinosaur raptor-like head. I really enjoy that. I thought it was a cool design. But yes, we see Baela and Moondancer chasing down Sir Crispin. They are running for their lives. And look at this poor chap. Look at this poor guy. He don't know what to do with himself. He is just, he is shitting bricks right now. I guarantee you he soiled his armor. I would be very surprised if he did not soil his armor in this scene. Because good old Gwaine Hightower is very scared. Very scared indeed. And yeah, we needed a crispy Kristen Cole deep fried by Baela. That would have been a nice icing on the cake. For sure. But unfortunately for Baela, it seems like Sir Crispy Crispin and young Gwaine Hightower just barely make it to the tree line right before Moondancer is upon them. And she got close. She got very close, even though Rhaenyra kind of told her to not engage. You know, this is Baela at the end of the day. Baela is a freaking badass. So I feel like it was very much in Baela's character to kind of chase Cole down in that scene, because she's Baela. She's the daughter of Daemon. She's very badass. She's true Targaryen. So it's not in Baela's nature to kind of just sit back and not take action. So I felt like it fit her character very well. Even though she had orders to not engage, it definitely fit Baela's character as a whole. Baela the bold, Baela the badass, as I like to say. Really good scene. And thank you so much, Crazy Mad, for the $10 super chat, my friend. You also deserve a whoa. Whoa! Hell yes. Hell yes, indeed. But yeah, this was probably one of my biggest laughs of the episode, just seeing the look on Gwaine Hightower's face when he's just hoofing it on that damn horse trying to get to the freaking tree line. Man, if that isn't the look of fear, I don't know what the look of fear is, for sure. For sure. Let's see what else we got. I'm surprised the next episode isn't fully at Rook's Rest. We'll see Duskendale and Harrenhal and Aegon leaving King's Landing. Yeah, it looks like we'll see the beginnings of it. It doesn't look like it's going to just be full-on battle from start to finish. I imagine when Rook's Rest comes around next week, I think that episode is around 54 minutes in runtime, so it's one of the shorter episodes this season. So I imagine probably the first 10, 15 minutes or so will be just incidental scenes setting up Rook's Rest. with the actual battle itself probably coming 10-15 minutes in and lasting the most of the episode. Good stuff, though. I'm looking forward to it. I think Rook's Rest is going to be absolutely insane. I think it's going to be insane. And yes, praise Garth. Praise Garth indeed. Praise Garth indeed. Let's see what else we got here. Last of Us 2 had a gas mask bong. Ooh, did it? I have not played The Last of Us 2. I played the first one years and years and years and years ago, and I haven't really been much into video games over the last few years. I just haven't really had the time. But yeah, I need to hop back on my PS5 at some point and start diving back into some games, because there are some games out there I really, really do want to play. I just haven't really had the time lately. It's been very time consuming between work and YouTubing, but I enjoy it. I absolutely love hanging out with everybody and diving into these episodes. I wanted Crispin to get extra crispy. I did too as well. And yes, Baela's dragon was so cute. It really did. It looked great. I really enjoy the design of Baela's dragon. It did look really good. Really good. Let me reload this back up here. Because we do actually have some interesting concept art from Baela's Moon Dancer that was released a little bit before this episode dropped. And maybe it's just me, the artistry in me, that I always really enjoy seeing the concept art behind some of these dragons, because it's always very interesting to see where they started from concept and where the full finished version ended up landing with, I guess you could say. But I'll load that up here in a second. Bad connection, sorry. But yeah, Last of Us 2 has a gas mask bong. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. That might be worth playing it just to see that alone. Oh, yeah. Moon Dancer is gorgeous, says River Miss Faye. It is. Great looking dragon. Absolutely great looking dragon. Got Felipe in the house. What is up, Felipe? Good to see you as well, my friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Radical Z says, I see people mad we didn't see the Burning Mill battle, but we didn't need to see it, in my opinion, since it had no major characters fighting in it. Yeah, I mean, I was okay with them kind of skipping over it. I wasn't really expecting to see a full pitch battle, especially considering we have a major battle coming in episode 4. I wasn't really expecting them to do 2 full big battle sequences in back-to-back episodes. That's a little bit unlikely. So I was okay with them skipping over. I would have liked to see a small portion of it, maybe, just because even though there are no kind of main characters fighting in it, it is officially the first battle in the Dance of the Dragons. Up until this point, of course, we have had a lot of conflicts. We have had the death of Luke at the hands of Aemond, which was more of a slaughter than an actual battle. And then, of course, we have the horrible Blood and Cheese event. But the Battle of the Burning Mill is technically the first proper battle that happens during the Dance of the Dragons. So it would have been nice to see a little bit of it, but I understand why they didn't, especially considering they couldn't do Daemon's Stonehenge part of it as well. Considering that Daemon was in Harrenhal in episode 3, there's no way they could have set Daemon up to take Stonehenge after the Battle of the Burning Mill like it happens in the books. So I understand why they kind of skipped over it in terms of time constraints and there not being many main characters there. Although I did find it a little disappointing that we didn't get to see the older version of young Samwell Blackwood, especially after how well he was set up in season 1. They really set up young Samwell Blackwood very well in season 1. And I was really hoping to see the older version of him, 17 years later when he's all grown up and he has kids of his own. He reportedly did die in the battle. But of course, we didn't see it, but he does die in this battle, which they mention in the small council chamber. So R.I.P. to young Samwell Blackwood. He is no longer with us, unfortunately. So for that reason alone, I just wish we could have gotten to could have seen the older version of Samwell Blackwood, and it would have been cool to kind of see Alicent Blackwood as well. I know she is more of a minor character, but Alicent Blackwood plays a major part in the Battle of the Burning Mill, and later she goes on to become the wife of Cregan Stark as well. So I think it would have been really cool to see that, but I understand why they kind of skipped over it. It didn't break my heart that I didn't see it, I guess I'm saying. But yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and that was my only problem. I'm right there with you, Channel. That was kind of my only problem. It's like calling this whole episode the Battle of the Burning Mill was a huge tease. It's like you literally named this episode Battle of the Burning Mill and didn't show any of that battle. I feel like this episode probably would have been better served with a Harrenhal title, maybe. Or the Witch Queen, or the Taking of Harrenhal, something like that. But yeah, having the title "The Battle of the Burning Mill" only to not show the Battle of the Burning Mill was an interesting choice, at the very least. A little bit of a tease. Little bit of a tease, indeed. But we did see the beginning skirmish of it, and we did see the aftermath. And the aftermath is wild. Here we see the burning mill burning in the background, and just littered with frickin' corpses all over the place. So it looks like, if nothing else, it was a pretty savage battle that took place here. But yeah, Battle of the Burning Mill, guys. Battle of the Burning Mill. Will Gwaine be the new commander of the Gold Cloaks, like the book? Ooh, interesting. I'm not sure. I'm not too sure what they're going to be doing with Gwaine's character on the show. I mean, Fire and Blood seems to be the best likely blueprint in terms of where some of these characters are going to go, but they could very well deviate. We have seen them deviate with some of these characters before on the show. So yeah, I'm not too sure. I feel like that could be 50-50, whether he goes that route or whether they give him something else to do. I think either or. Your guess is as good as mine, my friend. I hate Gwaine Hightower more than I hate Cole. Ooh, now there's a hot take, Crazy Mad. Interesting. Yeah, Kristen Cole or Gwaine Hightower, who is more hated? At this point, I feel like after everything Sir Crispy Crispin has done, I feel like he's probably the more hated of the two within the fandom. But no, that's an interesting take. I mean, I didn't really hate Gwaine Hightower in this episode. He definitely comes across as kind of cocky and, that highborn arrogance that is very prevalent in little lordlings. So he was definitely a little bit arrogant, so he wasn't very likable right off the rip. But I think the fact that he was just giving Cole shit was one reason why I kind of like those scenes. Anyone that's going to give Cole shit, I'm going to like, just because Cole is the worst, in my opinion. But no, yeah, if you like Cole a little better than Gwaine, that is totally cool. But yeah, it was an interesting scene to see Gwaine kind of come right up to Cole and instantly kind of challenge him and kind of talk down to him in a sense, telling him how he comes from such modest means, and how he's very bitter that Cole has kind of unseated his father as Hand of the King. That much was very clear. So I thought it was an interesting scene, but I don't know, in terms of liking somebody less than Cole, they're going to have to do something absolutely catastrophic for me to hate them more than I hate Cole. I can't stand Cole. But that's just me. I felt so bad for Rhaena. She hated having to leave. She was pissed. Yeah, the Rhaena scenes were pretty interesting in this episode as well. And it's a little unfortunate. I know the show has been said. I know the show has kind of set it up that these dragon eggs are apparently supposed to be Daenerys's dragon eggs, which is very much show canon and definitely not book canon. I have a feeling this will definitely not be how it plays out in the book. Just because the timeline is a little off, and it's very weird to make these dragons Daenerys's. I get the sense that they did it in the show. It definitely connects House of the Dragon to Game of Thrones a little bit more, which is something they do want to do. At the end of the day, Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon are of one canon. House of the Dragon is supposed to directly lead into the events of Game of Thrones. Not directly. I mean, there's a few centuries in between, but they are very much of the same canon. My only problem with this scene is we got 4 dragon eggs here, and from what I am being told, none of these are going to be Rhaena's mourning. Now, it hasn't been outright confirmed yet, but that seems to be the working theory right now, that apparently none of these dragons are going to be Rhaena's mourning. And if that is the case, I feel like that is a mistake. I feel like what Rhaena and mourning represent for House Targaryen and the future of the dragons is incredibly important. So to not have Rhaena get mourning on the show, I think is going to be a little bit of a detriment overall. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. And I guess that could be our first question. Let me know what you guys think in the chat as well. Did you guys enjoy this little revelation that these eggs are potentially the same eggs that Daenerys gets 172 years later? Or do you prefer the book running theory with Alyssa Farman having the eggs that belong to Dany. I like the book version a little bit better. Maybe it's just because I'm a book purist at the end of the day. I love the books. The book canon is always the established real canon for me personally. But I get what they were trying to do in this scene. They were trying to, connect House of the Dragon that much more to Daenerys and Game of Thrones. So I understand what they were going for. I definitely understand what they were going for. Would you hate it if Nettles is cut? I will. I very much will. And we have heard those rumors that Nettles will not be on the show and that Rhaena will actually be claiming Nettles' dragon. If that does happen, I think that is one of the biggest mistakes they could possibly make. Not putting Nettles in this show is a huge mistake, in my opinion. She's not only is she a very fascinating character, but what she represents as well in terms of being one of the only kind of small folk that is dropped right in the middle of this crazy war between all of these highborn Targaryens, and all of a sudden you have this lowborn Nettles girl right smack in the middle of it. And then considering everything that she does a little bit later on and the part she kind of plays in the rift that starts to form between Rhaenyra and Daemon, and the part that Nettles plays in Rhaenyra starting to really start to lose her mind a little bit later on towards the end of the dance. Rhaenyra really starts to get freaking crazy, like really crazy. And Nettles is a big part of that, her insecurity about what Nettles and Daemon are doing. So I think if Nettles isn't on the show, I think that's going to be a huge detriment. I mean, I hope that's just a rumor. I mean, it has been a rumor that a lot of people think seems to be true, and it very well could be. But yeah, if Nettles isn't in the show, I think that's a huge mistake. Absolutely a huge mistake if Nettles isn't in the show. Will Rhaena participate in the Battle of the Gullet, or do you think we'll still be getting Nettles? And that's another good point as well, because this action that we're seeing right here, the act of Rhaenyra sending her two youngest sons, Aegon III and Viserys II, across the Narrow Sea to Pentos to keep them safe. In the book, that is directly what sets up the Battle of the Gullet as their ship kind of gets intercepted. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the Battle of the Gullet plays out on the show, especially considering they have severely aged down Aegon and Viserys to the point where they're just babies on the show. I get the feeling the Gullet is going to have to start maybe a little bit of a different way. But yeah, in terms of Nettles, I have no idea what's going on with Nettles. If they do give Rhaena Nettles' storyline, then yes, I could potentially see Rhaena maybe taking part in the Battle of the Gullet instead of Nettles. But I hope that's not the case. I certainly hope that is not the case. Let's see what else we got. And yeah, since we'll probably never see Alyssa on screen, it makes sense for show canon. That's why in show canon isolation, I have no problem with it. They're trying to connect these eggs to Dany's eggs, and this show to Game of Thrones a little bit more. In the show canon version, I don't really have a problem with it. But book canon, I think will be much different, in my opinion. Let's see what else we got. And this was another thing. Now I hear that these are Dany's eggs, but I heard the colors are wrong. Don't remember. Yeah, the colors are a little bit wrong. Dany's eggs were a little bit of a different color. Her Drogon egg, was very much black. It was pretty much black. This is like the only dragon egg that kind of looks similar to Dany's dragon eggs, the one green one. But then again, that could just be attributed to these dragons, the color kind of getting faded over the centuries. If these are supposed to be Dany's dragons, these are right after they're hatched. So I guess it would make a little bit more sense that the colors are much more vibrant here. But by the time Dany gets her hands on these dragons, it's almost 200 years later, and they are said to have petrified into stone even. So I guess maybe that's an explanation for the color distortion, why they're a little bit of a different color on Dany's when Dany gets them compared to here. I just get the feeling they're a little bit more fresh here. They were just hatched, so the colors are a little bit more vibrant. At least that's the only explanation I can think of, maybe. Who knows? Alyssa farming for theory for sure. Hell yes. Hell yes, indeed. Hell yes, indeed. That's what I love about Dany. She's cold and doesn't hesitate to act. If she would have burned Cole and Hightower if she had the opportunity, she probably would have. I mean, Dany is, she's forgiving and she is merciless, but at the end of the day, she is a Targaryen and she's not afraid to rain down fire and blood if she needs to. We saw what she did to the Masters of Yunkai, the Masters of Marine, crucifying tons of masters without mercy. So she is capable of having that mean streak inside of her, indeed. Indeed. And I feel like book Rhaenyra is as well. I feel like the show version of Rhaenyra has been kind of portrayed in a little bit more of a favorable light than the book version of Rhaenyra. I feel like book version of Rhaenyra is way more savage. But yeah, I don't know. Just thinking about some of the scenes in season 1 in Fire and Blood when it comes to Vaemon Velaryon trying to usurp Luke as heir of Driftmark. In the book, it plays out a little bit different. Whereas on the show, we see Daemon solely takes it upon himself to unceremoniously take off Vaemon's head right there in the throne room. But in the book, it goes down a little bit differently. In the book, it's Rhaenyra herself who orders Daemon to kill Vaemon, and then she feeds Vaemon's dead body to her dragon. So Rhaenyra in the book is definitely more savage. She has much more of a mean streak that the show doesn't seem to be doing much yet. Maybe we'll see that side of Rhaenyra. And yeah, I agree with you as well, Eamon. The show makes Rhaenyra too nice and kind. Absolutely. I mean, it's a little bit of a stark contrast between show Rhaenyra and book Rhaenyra, definitely. And maybe show Rhaenyra will end up developing that savageness a little bit later on as the seasons progress. But as of right now, yes, show Rhaenyra is portrayed in a much more favorable light than book Rhaenyra is, I would say. For sure. For sure. Hoping that Rhaena takes Nettle's place, that would be a great storyline. I feel like that wouldn't be a great storyline. I mean, just me personally, I feel like that would be a really big mistake. Just considering how important Nettles is to the storyline and considering how important Rhaena's storyline is. Rhaena has a very important storyline. You don't really need to give Rhaena Nettles' storyline to make her storyline important. You can really make the argument that Rhaena's storyline is probably one of the most important in the entire series, considering what she goes on to become at the end of the dance and what she ends up representing for the future of House Targaryen. So I'm of a different mind. I feel like if you give Rhaena Nettles' story, I feel like it ruins both characters, just for me personally. I feel like it ruins Nettles by not having Nettles in the show. And I feel like it ruins Rhaena's character as well by not giving Rhaena mourning and everything that happens, everything that she represents for House Targaryen going forward. It could be interesting, I suppose, depending on how they play it. But I guess me being a very hardcore book fan first, I think giving Nettle's story to Rhaena, I think would ruin both characters. But that's just me. That is just me. Danny got a green, red, and yellow. Fresh eggs should probably be more colorful than 100 years late. Exactly, and I think that's kind of what I attribute it to as well. I mean, these dragon eggs are much, much fresher. They have just recently been hatched, so it makes a little more sense that the colors are a little more vibrant. Yes, I definitely agree. Definitely agree. Tell my half-brother I will have my throne or I will have his head. Yes, Red Mayleys. Exactly, and it's little stuff like that where, yeah, book Rhaenyra she's savage. She's a little bit more savage. And I think book Rhaenyra has a little bit more freedom to be savage because she doesn't really have much of an emotional connection to anyone in the Greens, whereas on the show, they have made Alicent and Rhaenyra the best of friends to start the story off, which it's not like that in the book. In the book, Alicent and Rhaenyra were always rivals. They never liked each other. But on the show, they started off as best friends. And I understand what they're trying to do with that, add an extra layer of complexity to the relationship of Rhaenyra and Alicent. And it does give Rhaenyra a little bit of a pause every once in a while to maybe not go so savage, because she probably does in the back of her mind still look at Alicent like this was one time my best friend. This was my best friend at one point. So yeah, but book Rhaenyra, tell my half-brother I will have my throne or I will have his head. That is book Rhaenyra summed up perfectly right there, Red Mayleys. Indeed. Indeed. Let's see what else we got. Uh-oh, I lost my spot, but I am getting it back. The twins are too important to the post-war story to change them too much. And that's kind of where I'm coming from as well. Just considering where they go and what they represent after the Dance of the Dragons, you hate to see some of these characters get changed a little too much. And again, that could just be my bias at the end of the day. I am a big book fan at the end of the day, so that could very well just be my bias. But yeah, I feel like if you change these book characters a little too much, it starts to ruin their stories in some cases, because a lot of these book characters are phenomenal stories in and of themselves. Like Rhaena, for instance. I feel like Rhaena has such an interesting and fascinating story that you don't really need to give her Nettles' storyline to make her interesting. She's already interesting, as is Nettles. How do you think Aegon and Viserys' ship will get intercepted by the Triarchy? That I have been wondering as well. We do have this one scene that has been playing in the trailers, and the fandom has been going kind of back and forth as to whether or not they think it was Otto or Tyland when we see that one character covered in mud getting wrestled and slammed into the ground. And if you look in the background, you can very much see the colors of the pastel colors that Essos is very well known for. So I get the feeling that could be either Tyland or Otto in Tyrosh, maybe, or maybe trying to create that alliance with the three daughters, which does happen in the book as well. At one point, Otto reaches across the Narrow Sea to try and get reinforcements to help break the blockade that the Velaryon fleet has set up. And in order to do that, they need a fleet of their own. So they reach out to the Triarchy, and the Triarchy sails for Westeros with the intention to break the Velaryon blockade. But on their way to Westeros, they end up running smack dab into that ship, and young Viserys and young Aegon end up getting captured. I'm not 100% sure if it's going to play that out that way in the show. It very well could, but considering how much they have aged down Aegon and Viserys, I feel like at the very least we're not going to get the Stormcloud scene of, a heroic Stormcloud just barely making it to shore with Aegon the second, Aegon the third. I don't think we'll get that. Seems like they have confirmed that Stormcloud is just a hatchling still on the show and nowhere near big enough to ride. So yeah, I do think we could get a similar setup. Maybe the ship will still get intercepted after whoever goes to Essos enlists the help of the three daughters. So I could see it kind of setting up in a similar way. I don't mind if they replace Nettles with Rhaena either, and that's cool. That's totally cool. If you guys like that, that is totally cool. I guess it's just me personally. I really hate that idea, but no, that's totally cool if you guys like that idea. Totally cool. If Viserys gets captured by the Triarchy and Viserys escapes, Rhaenyra would be pissed at her. Oh yes, it would be. It would be. That would be an interesting kind of dynamic they could set up. Yeah. It could be very interesting. And it has said, I guess, one of these dragon eggs is going to be young Viserys, which is very similar to the book as well. Viserys famously, the younger Viserys II, does have his dragon egg on him when he does board the ship. The Gay Abandon, I believe the ship's name is. So yeah, that'll be an interesting kind of dynamic to see how this plays out on the show. How exactly are they going to set up the gullet on the show? I'm looking forward to seeing how all of that plays out. Definitely. I hope Rhaenyra will get more savage, and I think she will. And I think she will in particular after the gullet happens, considering what happens in the gullet. And it's so hard to discuss these things without laying out massive spoilers. So I'll try my best. But considering what Rhaenyra loses in the Battle of the Gullet, I think at that point, after the Battle of the Gullet, we will definitely start to see Rhaenyra go into a little bit more savage mode. In the book, when Rhaenyra loses Lucerys, it devastates her. It devastates her to the point where she considers giving up the claim for the throne and just surrendering. That's how broken Rhaenyra is in the book after she loses Luke. At one point, she almost wants to just give up her claim entirely. But then she kind of pulls herself out of it, and then the Battle of the Gullet comes around. But the Battle of the Gullet, Rhaenyra has a much different reaction for, where what happened to Luke really kind of broke Rhaenyra. What happens during the Battle of the Gullet really ends up hardening her resolve, and she starts to feel like she has less to lose at that point. So I really feel like we will start to see a more savage version of Rhaenyra, and I get the feeling that'll probably happen after the events of the Battle of the Gullet. But I guess we shall see. Alicent and Rhaenyra remind me of how Clark Kent and Lex Luthor were in Smallville. Interesting dynamic. Ooh, interesting. That is a very interesting dynamic. Yeah, I loved Smallville. Smallville was one of my favorite shows. I know not a lot of diehard comic book fans didn't like it, but being a diehard comic book fan myself, I absolutely loved Smallville. just because it was cool to see, Clark Kent in training almost, Superman in training as it was. And yeah, seeing the relationship between a younger Clark Kent and the younger Lex Luthor. And still to this day, I feel like Michael Rosenbaum has played the best live action version of Lex Luthor we've ever gotten. I still haven't seen anybody play Lex Luthor as well as Michael Rosenbaum, with the exception of maybe Gene Hackman in the original. But yeah, I really enjoyed that dynamic, and you can definitely see a similar dynamic with Alicent and Rhaenyra, where they're kind of, they started off as friends, and then they quickly turn into frenemies, but they always still kind of have that, that underlying layer of feelings for each other still. So yeah, I was totally cool with the show kind of going in a different direction there and making Alicent and Rhaenyra friends, whereas in the book they always hated each other. Very interesting dynamic between the two. Very interesting, Rhaenyra. Book Rhaenyra sounds fierce. She is. I mean, again, she is. I have a feeling show Rhaenyra will be fierce at some point too, but book Rhaenyra is fierce right out the gate. Right out of the gate, book Rhaenyra gives zero fucks, and she does not hesitate in dropping the frickin' hammer when she needs to. She's a badass. She's an absolute badass. So if you guys are watching the show and you haven't read the books, it's totally cool if you want to wait until the show's over and then read the books. But just for contrast purposes, I would definitely recommend reading Fire and Blood if you are liking House of the Dragon, because you really get to see the contrast between the two versions, and you kind of get to appreciate both versions that much more. At least I did anyway. I very much appreciate what both are doing. We got a Millie Alcock sighting in this episode too. Yes, we did. We got a Millie Alcock sighting in this episode, and again, that was probably my favorite scene from the entire episode. Not just that scene, but the Harrenhal stuff with Daemon in general. That was my favorite stuff in the episode. And let's talk a little bit about that, shall we? Let me pull some of that up. Now, for me, when I saw this scene here of, oops, not the full frontal Aemon scene. Can't show that on screen. I'll get my channel struck faster than I can spit. But this was a very interesting scene. I guess we'll start from the beginning. We'll break this whole thing down. Now, it starts off with Daemon in his room, kind of trying to, plug up some of these leaks. Good old leaky Harrenhals, full of holes. And next thing we know, he hears a bang on his door, and it seems like someone is trying to get in his door. And I love how Daemon just shoved a freaking sword in the freaking door to kind of keep it locked. He don't trust anybody, and it's so funny. Even when he's at the dinner table a little bit earlier on, he refuses to even eat the food because he's afraid it might be poison. Like, Daemon just doesn't trust anybody. And it'll serve him well. It will serve him well to kind of be that mistrusting, especially here in Harrenhal, where he's by himself. He doesn't have any of his bannermen with him. It's just him and Caraxes. So Daemon is a little bit vulnerable out here and a little bit exposed. So I do understand him being very cautious and just not trusting anybody and taking precautions. But this was great. And yeah, I agree with you, Ty. Simon was hilarious. Simon was freaking great. I absolutely love the actor who was playing Simon Strong. I really hope we get more of him before Daemon leaves Harrenhal, because I really enjoyed his performance. Indeed, I really enjoyed his performance. But I really like the scene. Again, this was probably my favorite sequence from the episode. It starts off, we see this banging on the door, and if you look closely, you can start to see there's nothing under the door at first. And then next thing you know, you can see 2 feet, or at least the shadows of 2 feet standing in front of the door. So whatever was pulling on this door, it was definitely a person, most likely Alys Rivers. Here you can see the 2 feet, and in the frame before it, no feet there at all. So when we see this door start banging like that, I think, it was very weird at first. Obviously, the Curse of Harrenhal comes to mind, the trippy stuff that happens in Harrenhal, this place being haunted. But then when I watched it on the rerun, on the second watch, and I saw the feet at the bottom of the door, I thought, okay, maybe this isn't the Curse of Harrenhal getting into Daemon's head. Maybe this is Alys Rivers, the work of Alys Rivers. And it very well could be. I think Alys Rivers is the best candidate for what's causing these visions, although there are some other possibilities that we're going to talk about as well. But it starts off, he sees the banging on the door, and all of a sudden we see 2 feet standing there trying to get inside. And Daemon being Daemon, he has to find out what exactly it is. The feet were Larry's Love's feet. Yeah, it was Larry's. It was freaking Larry's and his clubfoot. If we could have got a little bit of better look and seen if maybe one sole was a little bit thicker than the other, that would have been a dead giveaway, Radical Z. Yeah, it was Larry's. Good old clubfoot. But we see Daemon start to investigate, and slowly but surely he makes his way into this room where we see the young Rhaenyra. And it was cool to see young Rhaenyra again. Millie Alcock was phenomenal in that role to kind of kick the whole show off. I feel like she was really, really good in season 1. So it was nice to see her again. And this scene, I don't know if it was just me, but this scene just completely reminded me, and I know some of you brought it up in some of the comment sections last week, and I 100% agree. This scene 100% reminded me of Daenerys and her visions at the House of the Undying, at least on the show. Daenerys' visions in the House of the Undying in the book are much different and much more complex. But for the purposes of the show canon, Daenerys' trip to the House of the Undying when she has that weird vision was this just instantly reminded me of that. And I feel like Daemon is being shown some of his sins here in this scene, where he's showing some of the things that he maybe needs to atone for in terms of the influence he had on Rhaenyra at a very young age, and of course, what he did to poor young Jaehaerys in Blood of Cheese. So it looks like Daemon is facing some of his past sins here, which is something that Matt Smith said was going to be happening in season 2, that Daemon is going to be confronted with past demons. And I get the feeling this is part of that. And you see the look on Daemon's face in that moment, and I get the feeling Daemon needed to actually see the face of young Jaehaerys before he before it really kind of sank in just how savage and tragic of an event this was. I feel like maybe Daemon might have felt a little bit bad prior, but until he actually sees this poor kid's face and Rhaenyra sewing on this poor kid's head, I feel like in this moment is when it really starts to hit Daemon what a savage event he enacted. So I do think Daemon is going to be struggling with that throughout the season, kind of coming to terms with the guilt that he ordered the murder of a child at the end of the day. There's really no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He ordered the murder of a child. So I think Daemon will be dealing with that for a good remainder of the season. And next thing we know, it seems like Daemon seemingly wakes up and snaps out of it, which I think it led a lot of us to believe that this was some kind of dream hallucination sequence, and it seems like maybe he was sleepwalking even, because when he does kind of come to, he is outside of Harrenhal in the courtyard, right in front of a weirwood tree, of all things, with his sword right next to him. So it looks like Daemon was maybe sleepwalking during that hallucination. And the director and the writers of this episode, they specifically wanted to portray it that Daemon was having trouble distinguishing what was real and what was fake. And I definitely feel like that definitely comes through in this episode. But then we get the most chilling of lines, the most chilling line in all of House of the Dragon so far, when we get Alys Rivers in the courtyard speaking to Daemon. And I'll play it one more time, just in case not everybody was here for the intro. I will play the scene one more time.
Always coming and going, aren't you? And I have to clean up afterwards.
You will die in this place.
Oof, you will die in this place. Incredibly creepy line and incredible foreshadowing for some of the events that we have to come a little bit later in the Dance of the Dragons, most notably, of course, the famous Battle Above the God's Eye. So I really enjoyed this. I feel like Alys Rivers is going to be such a phenomenal character this season and in the rest of the series going forward. I can't wait for her and Daemon to have some proper dialogue scenes. It was a great introduction, don't get me wrong, but I really want Daemon and Alys to start getting into the thick of it, where they really start having some proper back and forth. But this was great. This was really great. I got Witcher vibes when he was outside very much. Yeah, it was definitely some Witcher vibes for sure. Like when you look at the setting, when you look at the courtyard of Harrenhal, the weirwood in the back, the vines everywhere, it does kind of give you that Witcher-esque vibe a bit, doesn't it? Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that. But yeah, this was great. This was awesome foreshadowing. I absolutely loved this scene. And again, seeing Alys Rivers for the first time in live action was just so awesome. We knew that she was going to be in season 2. We knew Gail Rankin was cast in the role of Alys Rivers, but they were keeping this role very under wraps. In terms of all of the trailers that they played for season 2, we didn't get a single shot of Alys Rivers in any of the trailers. They were really keeping this character close to the chest. And now we got a really awesome introduction to her, and I think she's going to be very fascinating on the show. I feel like they're going to probably go in the direction of setting her up as the kind of Melisandre of this series, which can be good and bad. Her and Melisandre do have some similarities in terms of some of their abilities and the mysterious nature behind their origins. But I did read a quote from Gail Rankin, who is playing Alys Rivers, who stated that Alys Rivers could potentially be 400 years old. And, you know, and yes, in the books, her origin is very ambiguous. We're not 100% sure how old she is. She's rumored to be in her 40s or so in the book, but Mushroom's rumor also says that she could be much older. But it seems like on the show, they're really trying to hammer home that Alys Rivers-Melisandre connection, which could be interesting. Again, they are similar characters in some ways, where they both end up seeing visions in the flames of the future, which Alys and Melisandre both do. But Alys Rivers' visions might be even a little more advanced than Melisandre's in some ways, where Alys Rivers sees visions in not just the flames, she sees them in storm clouds and in pools of water as well. And I don't think we've ever seen Melisandre display those abilities. So it's going to be interesting to see what Alys Rivers can do. I mean, it does seem like she has some kind of supernatural talents, but I wonder what extent that is going to be on the show. But I think she's a fascinating character. I think Gail Rankin is a great actress to portray Alys Rivers. And I do think it was Alys Rivers at the end of the day that was getting into Daemon's head and causing a lot of these hallucinations, although there are a few other possibilities. Now, when I was seeing this scene, just seeing everything the way that it was set up, the first thing, there's probably like 3 most likely candidates. And the first being the curse of Harrenhal itself. We know Harrenhal is incredibly old and incredibly haunted after Aegon the Conqueror burned Harren the Black and all of his sons alive. Ever since that time, in the ensuing years, there have been many strange occurrences happening at Harrenhal. So the visions could be attributed to Harrenhal itself, or the curse of Harrenhal. Then, of course, it also could be the weirwood tree itself. When we see Daemon come to, he wakes up and he is right in front of the weirwood tree. And we have seen many, many times in the past that weirwood trees are very much capable of inducing prophetic visions in characters. And you don't just have to be Bran Stark in order to get visions from a weirwood tree. Many characters get them in the book. Even Jaime Lannister has weirwood dreams in the book. So another possibility is this is a weirwood dream. Maybe this is the old god's way of communicating with Daemon, showing him younger Rhaenyra, showing him the work that he did to Jaehaerys. Maybe this was the old god's way of showing Daemon some of the things that he needed to atone for. But then I think the most likely candidate is this is coming from Alys Rivers. I think Alys Rivers is going to be a very interesting character on the show, and she said something very interesting about her character as well, that she is going to have some kind of influence over some of the characters in the show, and in particular between her and Daemon. So at the end of the day, as much as I would love for this to have been a weirwood dream, I get the feeling that these visions are coming from Alys Rivers. But I guess I would love to get your guys' opinion as well in the chat. Where do you guys think these visions from Daemon came from? Do you think Daemon was getting visions because of the curse of Harrenhal was playing tricks on his head? Do you think this could have been weirwood induced? Or do you guys think Alys Rivers is behind these visions? I would love to know what you guys think. Which is it? Or do you think it was another explanation entirely? Do you think it's or could there be a totally different reason for the visions? Whatever you guys think, love to know what you guys think. Again, I kind of lean a little bit more towards this being the work of Alys Rivers, but yeah, I suppose it could be something else. I suppose it could be something else. A lot of fans want her to be Melisandre. Yeah, they do. They do. And even before House of the Dragon started, a lot of people were wondering if there was a chance that we would see Melisandre in House of the Dragon, because technically, it seems like Melisandre is very old. Where we're not 100% sure about Alys Rivers, it seems like there's a lot more evidence for Melisandre being around 300 years old, possibly. And if that is the case, that means Melisandre was definitely alive during the Dance of the Dragons. So for that reason, a lot of people were hoping that she was going to make an appearance on the show, but I always thought that was very unlikely. Not only does she have no part in the story of the Dance of the Dragons, but we also have Alys Rivers. To throw Melisandre and Alys Rivers both in the show would have been a little bit of an overkill, I think. There's just really not much room for Melisandre in the Dance of the Dragons. So although she might have been alive during this time period, I was never expecting to see her personally. Do you think Daemon has secretly been cast for the season 2 finale? Ooh, interesting. Interesting. I suppose anything's possible. I have been hearing from sources that we're not going to see Daemon in season 2, that they haven't even cast for him yet. But then again, that could be false for all we know. Who knows? Maybe we'll get a quick little glimpse of him at the end of season 2. I'm not expecting to see him until season 3, but I suppose anything's possible. I suppose anything is possible. Starbucks, Starbucks Cup, Ford truck, and Valley Girl. Alice things to be fixed on reruns. Yes, Ford F-150 in Game of Thrones. It's not something a lot of people spotted, but we do have the evidence for it. We do have the evidence for it. If we go up here, I know we talked about this the other day, but yes, there have been many mistakes when it comes to the filming of Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon. Now, when it comes to Game of Thrones, a lot of people remember the coffee cup and the water bottle that was famously on set, but this was one of the faux that not many people caught. If you look back to season 7 in the episode Beyond the Wall, when Jon and company go north to try and capture a white, we get this one scene where we can see a white Ford F-150 just parked, chilling up there on the ridge. Right up there. There we go. Look at this. We got a Ford F-150 just chilling up there in the ridge. And if you go back and watch this episode now, HBO has since gone in and edited it out. So if you watch this episode, you won't see the truck there now. But if you were lucky enough to catch this episode live, you were one of the lucky few who saw the Ford F-150 in Westeros. Very funny. Very, very funny. But back to Alice. Let's see what else we got. Let's see what some of you guys are saying. It's her, says Ty Briggs, and yeah, I think it is. I think it's her, or probably a trifecta of all three. Now that's interesting as well. I mean, it could that's definitely a possibility where it could potentially be some influences from multiple things happening there. That's possible as well. That's definitely possible. It's Weirwood because he's standing next to a tree, and that's what led me to believe this could be Weirwood induced as well. Because, like, yeah, he does wake up right in front of that Weirwood tree, and Weirwoods have been very known to give people visions in the past, and very trippy visions at that. So yeah, it could be Weirwood induced as well, for sure. Carice Van Houten's titties. Plot twist, Daemon kills Alice next week, LOL. Now that would certainly be a plot twist, if nothing else, for sure. That would definitely be a plot twist. Time travelers trying to stop season 8 from happening, says Tyler. Well, if that's the case, let me find out who these time travelers are, and I will freaking help them. I will help them in any way I possibly can. The blowjob scene was really superb. 10 out of 10 writing. That was crazy. I mean, even for HBO, that was a little bit crazy. I was really not expecting to see that. It's one thing to see, you know, Aemon full frontal, which again wasn't on my bingo card for last evening. But yeah, we got like a full-on BJ scene in that episode as well. It was very graphic. It was super graphic. Like, they didn't hide it at all. It was a full-on BJ scene. That was crazy. That was absolutely crazy. About Melisandre, there is a woman cover with a red hood in one of the trailers, the second, I believe. People think she could be Melisandre. What are your thoughts on this? I did see that character as well, and that's not Melisandre. That is actually Rhaenyra's handmaiden. At one point, Rhaenyra sends one of her handmaidens into King's Landing on some kind of mission, and that's who that is. I know a lot of people were wondering if that was Melisandre because of the red hood and similar looks, but no, that is Rhaenyra's most prized handmaiden that she sends into King's Landing. That will be coming a little bit later on towards the end of season 2. But I did see that. I did see a few people wondering if that could have been Melisandre, but no, that is 100% Rhaenyra's handmaiden. Definitely. Definitely. It would be crazy if the Hour of the Wolf was cut from the show. Don't even play with me, Radical Z. Don't even play with my feelings, man. Please don't play with my feelings. We need the Hour of the Wolf. I mean, especially after just in terms of what we got for Cregan Stark in episode 1, as much as I loved what we got, we really didn't get enough. I feel like the show really glossed over the Jace and Cregan meeting. I feel like Jace should have probably spent at least a full episode up there in the north. We barely even got to see Winterfell. The whole scene just happens atop the wall. It's a 6-minute scene and then done. So I feel like that was very much rushed. I feel like they could have done that much, much better. So if we get that very kind of poor introduction and we don't get the Hour of the Wolf later, that will be like a double whammy for us House Stark fans. We need the Hour of the Wolf. Don't play with me, Radical. Please don't play with me. Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it. It would be crazy. Yeah, it would be very crazy. Would be very crazy. Or Daemon could just be feeling guilty. Now, that's a possibility as well. That is definitely a possibility as well. I feel like Daemon, when he sees that vision of younger Rhaenyra sewing on Jaehaerys' head, I feel like in that moment is when Daemon really I feel like that's when it really starts to hit him, that he realizes what a just black deed that he set in motion. Whereas before actually seeing, it's one thing to do something, but when you actually see the fruits of your labor with your own eyes, I feel like that's when things hit a little bit more. So yeah, it could very well be that Daemon is just feeling guilty for some of his past sins. That's very possible as well, Ty. Very possible. Aemond, my son, says Alys will become Aemon's girl. Yes, well, in Fire and Blood, anyway, Alys Rivers does become the love interest of Aemon Targaryen. I'm not 100% sure if they're going to do that on the show, although I think it's pretty likely. And I feel like these two characters are kind of really good for each other in terms of the weirdness of them. Alys Rivers, of course, is very much an outcast. She's very strange. She can see visions of the future, which probably makes it very hard to have meaningful relationships with anyone if you know what's coming. But Aemond is a very kind of weird character in and of himself, where he too is also an outcast, the black sheep of the family, the one that doesn't fit in. So I feel like when Aemond and Alys Rivers do meet, it seems like these two characters are going to come together. So yes, I do think Alys will become Aemon's love interest on the show, just like she is in the book. Now, I guess the question remains, will she become pregnant with Aemon's child like she does in the book? That's one thing I'm wondering how they're going to play that. Will she actually get pregnant by Aemond is the question, I guess. We're in an alternate timeline where season 8 never happened. I wish, man. I freaking wish. If there's an alternate timeline out there where season 8 is still being filmed and Miguel Sapochnik isn't attached, that's the timeline I want to be in. That is the timeline I want to be in. I feel like we didn't need to see the nudity. I watched this with my mom. HBO, think how I feel. LOL. Oh, shit. Damn. That must have been a little bit awkward when you see Aemon, not only just the Aemon full frontal nudity, but the full-on BJ scene that you get in that freaking episode as well. Yeah, watching this episode with parents probably is not recommended, not wise. I watch these shows alone personally. I would feel very uncomfortable watching this with my parents or even my sisters. Even I would feel very uncomfortable watching this with kind of anybody really, especially that scene. But yeah, I feel for you. I feel for you that you had to endure that. We saw Aemon one-eyed dragon. We did. We certainly did. He had no problem going full frontal. Full frontal. I think the show is trying to kill all comparisons of Daemon to Aemon because I don't look at them as being similar anymore. I feel like they're similar only on like surface levels. I feel like when you start to break these characters down in terms of who they are, their motivations, what makes them tick, I feel like they are very much two totally different characters. They may seem very similar on the surface level in terms of their looks, the way that they kind of carry themselves in front of others. But when you break these characters down, when you peel back their layers a little bit more, yes, Aemon and Daemon are very different characters, for sure. I agree. I very much agree. I know I'm evil jinxing the Hour of the Wolf. I hope not, man. I hope you're not jinxing the Hour of the Wolf. And just to kind of get rid of the jinxing bad mojo vibe, I think we need to listen to that Stark theme one more time.
Duty is sacrifice. It eclipses all things, even blood. All men of honour must pay its price. North owes a great duty to the Seven Kingdoms, one older than any oath. Since the days of the first men, we have stood as guardians against the cold and the dark. But my ancestor, Torrhen Stark, began a tradition by making an offering at the onset of winter. 1 in 10 men from our household was to be chosen to fortify the watch. This is not a sentence, but an honour. A duty embraced by all who serve the North. Even by mine own kin. The North must stand ready. Winter is coming.
Winter is coming. Yeah, a little bit of a palate cleanse right there. That good old Stark theme, that Stark music just always takes me back to a happy place, I guess. Indeed. Yeah, I was shook. And hardcore porn was not on my bingo card. It really wasn't. Like, that's exactly what I was saying as well. Like, this just was not on my bingo card for this evening. It was kind of funny. I did have a little bit of a chuckle. I mean, and I feel for you, Vic. My brother was with me. He had to cover my eyes. Yeah, I feel for you. I feel for you there. If anyone was watching this with parents or siblings or anything like that, I definitely feel your pain. Because, yeah, it was super graphic. Super graphic. I watched this first. Now I know what scenes to skip for my mom. There you go. Yeah, forewarned is forearmed, I guess they say. Indeed. I do the same for my mom. I told her to skip the last 5 minutes of episode 1. Oh, I know. Just especially for mothers out there, I imagine a scene like that must hit 10 times harder. Now, I don't have any children myself. I am not a parent. But even not being a parent, that scene still kind of hits very hard. But if you're a parent and you're a mother or a father even, that scene must have hit on even a different level to kind of see, a child get taken like that. Was the BJ scene real? I have been wondering that myself too. It looked incredibly graphic and incredibly real, but I think Jess might be right that it might have just been a prop dong, good old prop dong. It could have been, because I find it very hard to believe that HBO would film, hardcore porn in one of their episodes. I don't know if that's even legal, to be honest. When you're filming porn, I'm pretty sure you need a special license to film those kind of scenes. So I don't think it would have been even legal for HBO to film that kind of scene unless they went and got the permission ahead of time. But I get the feeling it was probably a fake scene. I definitely feel like it was probably a prop dong. I don't feel like there was probably someone really giving a BJ on freaking set of House of the Dragon. At least I hope not. But it seemed like it was fake. If I had to guess anyway, it was probably a prop dong. Hashtag prop dong. Let's get those prop dong in the chat. Hashtag prop dong. There we go. Yeah, it was a prop dong, I think. I think it was a prop dong. It looked really soft and Soft, undetailed rubber to me. See, I didn't really get a good look at it because I kind of looked away when I saw that scene, and I hadn't. When I went back to rewatch it on the rewatch, I didn't even watch that scene. I kind of skipped over it, so I didn't really get a feel for what the texture of it was myself. But I will take your word for it, channel. Really soft and undetailed rubber to me. It probably was. I think it probably was. Probably a rubber dong. Hashtag prop dong. A good old prop dong. Something tells me we're going to get Torrhen and Dominic Manderly soon. Yeah, I was wondering what they're going to do with the Manderlys. Because, of course, in Fire and Blood, when Jace does, at the end of Season 1, we see Rhaenyra sends Jace and Luke off to go and treat with various houses to try and get their support for the upcoming war. While Luke goes to Storm's End and gets unceremoniously killed by Aemon and Vhagar, Jace has a much longer journey, where Jace goes to the Vale, he goes to Winterfell, but he also goes to White Harbor as well and treats with the Manderlys. And it seems like the show completely skipped over both of those locations. So I have been wondering, what are they going to do with the Manderlys? Are we going to see some Manderly action on the show at some point? I hope we do. I hope we do. I mean, that would be great to see some nice Torrhen and Domeric Manderly action, for sure. We are flying through these episodes. We are, Ty, and I was saying that we were actually watching an encore of it last night in our Discord, and I think that's something we're going to probably try and do from now on, whereas every Sunday I try to do the pregame show like 2 hours before the show loads up. I try to go live just to give us, a place to kind of hang out and chill out and kill some time while we wait for the new episode to load up. But yesterday, Kiwi was kind enough to do an encore rewatching of episode 3 in the Discord, and it was a lot of fun. So I think we're going to maybe try and do that next week as well. So if anyone wants to come and hang out with us after you watch it once and want to come and hang out for the encore rewatch, I think we're going to try and do that in the Discord voice chat next week as well, because that was fun. That was really fun. And shout out to Kiwi for hosting that last night. That was great. That was a lot of fun. With the crow quirking, I know, yeah, you hear that northern music and you hear the crow. Doesn't it just take you right back to those early days of Game of Thrones, those first few seasons of Game of Thrones when it was just on top of the world, phenomenal storytelling, best show in the world. Anytime I hear that music and you hear the crows in the background, you see Winterfell in the distance or the wall in the distance, it just instantly takes me right back to those first few seasons of Game of Thrones, for sure. I always will love House Stark. Love House Stark and their culture, absolutely, and that's kind of why I'm drawn to them as well. It's not only just the Starks are badass, but they have such a fascinating culture and such a fascinating set of rules that they live by. They're one of the most interesting houses for me personally. I know they're not everybody's favorite, but I will always be a House Stark loyalist. House Stark till the end. Hell yes. Can we check on the Starks just to get this theme every episode? I would love that, channel. I would absolutely love that. That's why I'm really hoping that we get the Winter Wolves on the show sooner rather than later. Although we probably won't get any Cregan until much later on. We will get the Winter Wolves much sooner, and the Winter Wolves will kind of be the Stark representation on the show, at least until Cregan returns. So yes, the quicker the Winter Wolves come, the quicker we can start hearing some of that northern music again. Hopefully, anyway. Hopefully. The King in the North! The King in the North. Hell yes. Hell yes. Let's see what else we got. Can't wait to see the Greybeard / Winter Wolves. Hell yes, I am right there with you. Again, in terms of the characters I was looking forward to seeing most in Season 2, in terms of new characters, it was hands down Alys Rivers and hopefully a glimpse at the Winter Wolves. Now, we might not get the Winter Wolves this season. They might save that until Season 3. But yeah, when it comes to new characters I'm looking forward to seeing the most, it was definitely Alys Rivers and Roddy the Ruin. I cannot wait to see Roddy the Ruin and the rest of the Winter Wolves. These Greybeards are badass. I think it's very accurate to say that the Greybeards, the Winter Wolves, are probably Rhaenyra's most fierce fighters on the ground. Yes, they're not dragon riders or anything like that, but when it comes to just pure old fierce fighters on the ground, it doesn't get much better than the Winter Wolves on Rhaenyra's side. They do a lot of damage in some of these battles. They take a lot of casualties as well, but they do a lot of damage on the battlefield. These aren't your average graybeards. As Cregan Stark says, they will fight hard, like Northerners. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. We love dongs like Larry's loves feet, says Jen Hack. Well, if nothing else, I'm glad that at least, you know, everyone who was looking forward to getting a nice glimpse of some Aemon full frontal, I am glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it, if nothing else. And thank you so much, Jen Hack, for being a member for 12 months. Wow, that is awesome. 12 freaking months. Welcome, Jen Hack. Yeah, Jen's been here forever, ever since the early From days, I believe. Welcome, Jen. So glad to have you here. I think that 12-month membership definitely deserves a whoa. Whoa! Indeed. But yeah, we love dongs like Larry's loves feet. Funny. That is funny. Let's see what else we got. Game of Thrones scenes was known for that, though. Momoa and Dany, Greyjoy, etc. House of the Dragon just continuing it. Very true. Yeah, Game of Thrones hasn't been shy of showing nudity. That's their thing. It's what they were very much known for, anyway. It was just tons of, you know, boobs and dong all over the place in Game of Thrones. So yeah, like you said, House of the Dragon is just continuing the tradition. Very good point. Very good point, Leo. Very good point. And House of the Dragon was supposed to be page 13 compared to Game of Thrones. My mom can't handle blood and cheese, even though I'm reading the book to her. I mean, again, I have a feeling that a scene like that would probably hit even harder for people who are parents or mothers in particular. It's just tragic. It just goes against the very natural order of things. Parents aren't supposed to bury their children. That's just not the natural order. So yeah, I imagine that scene was probably rough for parents to watch, for sure. For sure. But yeah, had to be fake, as Kiwi says. I think so too. I think it was fake. It looked too shiny. I think it was a plastic prop. Definitely a prop, says River Miss Faye as well. Yeah, again, I didn't really get a good look at the texture of it, because as soon as I saw it, I kind of looked away, and I didn't even watch that scene in the rewatch. So I'll have to, when I go watch it for the third time, I'll definitely have to keep an eye out and see and see if we can see anything about the texture. But I will take your guys' word for it. A little too shiny, probably a plastic prop. Yeah, good old prop dong. A good old prop dong. I'm a mom of a man Aemon's age. Seeing him naked really fucked with me in a non-good way. I am sorry to hear that. I am sorry to hear that, April May. Yeah, I imagine as good as it might have been for some people, it might have been kind of awkward for others. So that's very understandable. It's definitely understandable, for sure. I'm a mother and a grandmother, and that scene hit me hard, says Shelley Howard. I mean, I can definitely see that. Again, I'm not a parent myself, so I can't really speak to that personally. But yeah, I imagine if you were a mother or even a grandmother as well, a scene like that definitely probably hits hard. It's just, again, it goes against the natural order of things. Parents aren't supposed to bury their children or their grandchildren either. It's just, it's not how things usually go. But yeah, hashtag prop dong. That was not a real dingus. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. I think Rhaenyra will go into war mode when when Rook's Rest happens. That could be it as well. I'm expecting Rhaenyra to go into war mode once the Battle of the Gullet happens and she loses what she loses in that episode. But yeah, you're right. I mean, what happens in Rook Rest could potentially spur Rhaenyra into taking more direct action at times. So that's a good point. I mean, Rook's Rest could very well bring out some of the savage side in Rhaenyra, maybe. Especially considering the relationship between Rhaenyra and Rhaenys. It started off so strained, where they really didn't like each other. Well, at least Rhaenys didn't like Rhaenyra and was wholeheartedly convinced that she played a hand in Laenor's death. But as the season started to progress, and especially now at the end of season 1 and the beginning of season 2, we really start to see a real relationship start to develop between Rhaenyra and Rhaenys, where Rhaenys is very much kind of there to be that motherly shoulder to cry on, that to give her that counsel that Rhaenyra needs. So yeah, I feel like they have developed a pretty good relationship, and I think it's going to be devastating next week for Rhaenyra, for sure. For sure. Hell yeah. Hashtag prop down. Prop down. Man, not a real dick. It's wood. So yeah, I tend to agree with all of you guys. If it looked rubber, I definitely, I'm going to take all of you at your word. And I know, right, Ty? Damn, y'all over here analyzing, you freaks. Hey, that's what it is. I mean, that's what's so fun about the House of the Dragon, the Song of Ice and Fire fandom. You know, you can have fun and just go crazy every once in a while and look at weird rubber dongs, I guess. It comes with the territory, I guess. Good stuff. Episode 4 is the beginning of the end for House Targaryen. And it is indeed. It definitely is indeed. I feel like Episode 4, the Battle of the Rook's Rest, is really when things start to properly take off and really start to get bloody. Yeah, so in many ways, this is the beginning of the end for House Targaryen. Episode 4 on is really when things start to get very hairy. It's definitely from that point on we start to see way more deaths. We're going to start to see characters dropping like flies. We're going to start to see dragons dropping like flies, which I am definitely not ready for. So yes, Rook's Rest is very much a catalyst for the rest of the story in terms of the tone that the rest of the show will probably be playing with after Rook's Rest going forward. It's yeah, like you said, it very much is the beginning of the end. Very much is the beginning of the end, definitely. Definitely. My prediction is Winter Wolves are season 3, episode 5. Ooh, interesting. Yeah, as much as I would love to see them in season 2, I'm not really expecting it. I think the Winter Wolves will probably be a season 3 thing. I'd love to see them this season, but I'm not expecting it for sure. Did any of you see who is probably Nettles? She's been in many episodes already. The Nettles thing has been very, very weird. We've been getting all of these weird rumors that Nettles isn't going to be on the show and that Rhaena is going to be getting a portion of Nettles' storyline. And I feel like that's such a big mistake if that is the direction that the show is going on. Nettles is such an important character. I feel like not putting her in the show is going to be a detriment, personally. But no, I did not see if we have seen a character who is probably Nettles in the show already. No, I have not spotted that myself. Good stuff. I don't know if you missed it, Jeremy, but Rickard Thorne was in this episode for a brief second. I hope they set him up more as well. Yeah, and another one that we saw in this episode as well, which I'm hoping we're going to get a little bit more of when the Dragon Seed storyline comes around, is the Kingsguard who is actually escorting Rhaenyra into King's Landing. That has been confirmed to be Sir Steffon Darkling. We do indeed have Steffon Darkling on the show. And anyone who's read Fire and Blood and knows about the Dragon Seed storyline, Steffon Darkling should have a very interesting scene when it comes to attempting to claim a dragon. So I'm loving that they're throwing these secondary minor characters into the show already. And we even got confirmation that Silver Danes himself has been cast on the show as well, which I know gave a lot of us some kind of hope that maybe we could see Cannibal this year, which would be really cool. I'm not really expecting Cannibal in season 2, maybe season 3. But yeah, it's really cool to see some of these kind of secondary characters like the Rickard Thorns, like the Steffon Darklings. We haven't seen Silver Danes yet, but we have heard that he has been confirmed cast on the show. We did get Ulf the White, though. We did finally get our first proper introduction to Ulf the White, or Ulf the Sot, as he's referred to in the book, as he is a notorious drunk. And here he is. And this is some of my, I guess, critiques, I could say, for House of the Dragon Season 2 so far going forward. As much as I really enjoyed the scene that we got of Ulf the White, I feel like we spent way too much time on him. In a season where we only have 8 episodes and screen time is very, very limited, I feel like they probably could have, I get they want to introduce the character of Ulf the White. They want to give the audience a sense of his personality, but I feel like they easily could have achieved that in a scene that was a fraction of the time. So this has been one of my biggest problems with House of the Dragon season 2 so far going forward, is I feel like they are mismanaging their screen time a little bit in some cases. Because again, only having 8 episodes seems to really be messing a little bit with the pace, a little more than I envisioned. Some events are being glossed over way too fast, and some events are being drawn out way too long. So I feel like time management hasn't been the best in season 2 so far. When I think about this episode and I think about all of the other interesting scenes, all the other interesting things that are going on, yes, I get that they want to establish Ulf the White, but I feel like they could have done that in a fraction of the second and not spent nearly 4 or 5 minutes on setting this character up, who is a very minor character overall. And then when you think about the amount of screen time that Daemon and Alys got in this episode, which was very minimal, it was just a little bit of a disappointment, just for me personally as a viewer. I was very much expecting this episode to be Harrenhal heavy. I know we got some really good Harrenhal stuff, but in terms of screen time, we barely spent any time at Harrenhal. I was definitely expecting more Daemon and more Harrenhal this season, this episode. But again, that's just a nitpick for me personally. I just feel like sometimes the time management hasn't been used in the best way. But it's not really, it hasn't ruined the show by any means at all, for sure. And it was cool to see Ulf the White. I think he's going to be a fun character. I think Ulf will be a fun character. Let's see what else we got. Episode 4 will be, hopefully episode 4 will have some more Harrenhal stuff. I mean, we know episode 4 is going to be doing the Battle of Rook's Rest, but it doesn't look like the entire episode is going to be just battle from start to finish. Based on the trailer we got for episode 4, it does look like we are going to see some other stuff in that episode as well. So yeah, hopefully we can get some more Daemon and Harrenhal scenes in the next few episodes. Because if Fire and Blood is any guide, Daemon will probably be at Harrenhal for the duration of a few episodes at least. I don't think he's going to leave anytime soon. He spends a good amount of time there before he leaves. So yeah, hopefully we'll get some more. Hopefully we can get some more Daemon and Alys Rivers. Good stuff. Good stuff, guys. Let's see what else we got here. Scrolling down, what would you think if Cregan Stark takes Roddy the Ruined story arc just so he can be involved in the story more? I mean, I think it would be cool. I mean, just being a huge Cregan Stark fan, I would like it, but I would be a little disappointed at the same time too, just because Roddy the Ruin is such a fascinating character that I really want him to get his own screen time. It would be cool to see Cregan more involved in the show. I would love that. But considering how Roddy the Ruin's story ends, Cregan's story needs to end differently. So in terms of just the Stark fan in me really getting a chance to see more Cregan, that I would love. But I would definitely miss Roddy the Ruin if that was the case. Just personally. Please, not 10 episodes without any wolves. I hope not. Again, I'm not really expecting it to happen in season 2. They did perfectly set up the winter wolves, and Cregan said, I have 2,000 graybeard. I have thousands of graybeards that are already ready to march. I can ready them to march at once. So that definitely leads us to believe that they could be entering the show maybe a little bit sooner than we thought. But yeah, at this point, as much as I really want to see the Winter Wolves in season 2, I guess I'm just not expecting it until season 3. But seeing them in season 2 would be a very nice surprise, for sure. For sure. Do you think season 3 will go back to 10 episodes? I certainly hope so. I certainly hope so. And again, this has been one of my biggest problems with season 2 so far, has been the pacing and the time management. I feel like the pacing has been off for some of these episodes. I feel like they're skipping through important events too fast at times, and they're drawing out insignificant events a little too long at times. And again, maybe it is attributed to this season only having 8 episodes, so their screen time is much more limited. But I just feel like the pacing has been kind of off in season 2. And yeah, maybe that is because we're only getting 8 episodes. I really hope we return to 10 episodes in season 3. 8 episodes just isn't enough. It's just not enough. So yeah, hopefully we go back to 10 in season 3. Hopefully. Let's see what else we got. I'm getting growing pains thinking about what Aemon's going to do to Simon Strong and his sons. Oof, interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, Aemon is going to have some very, very intriguing scenes at Harrenhal, especially when he comes in contact with the Strongs. Yeah, that portion of Fire and Blood was nuts. I believe the pile of heads was like feet high or some shit like that. It's tragic, and it essentially is the extinction of House Strong as well in that scene. So that's going to be nuts. We're going to see Aemon go freaking savage on the Strongs when he gets to Harrenhal for sure. For sure. Did you see the Starbucks cop in the brothel? I didn't. Don't play with me, Radical. Don't play with me. Don't play with me like that. No, I did not see a Starbucks cup in the brothel. I guess the prop dong was too much of a distraction. Oh man, yeah. I did not see it myself. Did not see it myself. Let's see what else we got. Did you notice the change in the opening tapestry? I didn't myself, just because when I was watching episode 3, I didn't actually watch the opening credit sequence. I believe I might have been actually rolling a joint when the opening credits was actually playing, so I didn't actually watch it because usually they don't change the opening credits too much. But no, I missed it myself. I did see a lot of people talking about it, but I didn't actually see it myself because I haven't watched the opening sequence yet. So when I go to rewatch the episode tonight after the stream, I'll definitely pay closer attention to the intro sequence because I have heard a lot of you point out that they made some changes this time. But no, I did not catch them myself. I did not catch them myself. Dance of the Dongs. Dance of the Dongs. That is very, very fitting. Very, very fitting. Oh, God. Man. Dance of the Dongs. I mean, I guess it would be a fitting name for the show. It'd be accurate, if nothing else. Rhaenyra doesn't go full dark until she retakes King's Landing. And in the book, she starts to go full dark like right after the Gullet, I would say, because she reacts very differently to the Battle of the Gullet than she does to the battle above Shipbreaker Bay. When she loses Luke in the book, it breaks her. She becomes devastated when she loses Lucerys, so much to the point where she even considers giving up her claim to the throne and ending the war. But then when the Battle of the Gullet happens, what happens during the Battle of the Gullet ends up hardening Rhaenyra's resolve. Whereas the Luke thing breaks her, the Gullet thing only makes her a little bit stronger, and it kind of gives her that sense where now she feels like she has nothing to lose. So I do think we will see Rhaenyra become a little bit more savage when we get a little closer to, yes, the taking of King's Landing and the Battle of the Gullet. I think we'll see a much more savage Rhaenyra a little bit down the ways. Yeah, hopefully anyway. We'll see. Aemon was reserved. Why he didn't lash out at Aegon, he's really matured and knows how to hold his tongue. His character low-key growing on me, says Leo V. Yeah, and that was a fucked up scene, too, if nothing else. I feel like it was definitely a callback to when Aemon was a kid and how Aegon and Rhaenyra's children would always kind of pick on him. So it was a messed up scene. You know, you see poor Aemon there. He's getting made fun of by Aegon and all of his friends. It's just I genuinely felt bad for Aemon in that scene. And you start to realize why, or at least a little bit, as to why Aemon is so damaged and why his psyche is so damaged. Because yeah, he did not have a good childhood. Aemon, his childhood was probably a very tortured existence before he had Vhagar to have as a companion. Because yes, he was the oddball out. He was constantly getting picked on by both his brothers and by both his brother and Rhaenyra's children. So yeah, I imagine Aemon had a probably messed up childhood, and you can definitely see why or how he's become so damaged. And yeah, this scene definitely kind of reminded me back to the Pink Dread scene that we got in season 1, where the younger version of Aegon and Aemon were bullying him. So yeah. Seems like things don't change. If I was Aemon, I would have got up and backhanded Aegon in this scene. But like you said, Aemon has grown up. He's grown up and he's matured. He seems like he's in much more control of his emotions now, where Aemon easily could have flown off the handle in this scene and maybe, you know, probably not touched Aegon maybe, but he could have easily beat the shit out of one of Aegon's boys. But yeah, we see that he is maturing a little bit. He kind of kept his emotions in check, and he just kind of walks away, dong and all. So yeah, maybe that's a sign of growth for Aemond, if nothing else. Maybe it's a sign of growth. Let's see what else we got. Let's see what else we got. Why are we talking about the texture of dongs? Johnny Tran's got a couple of Nissan SR20s that will pump a premium before race wars. Thank you, Rooftop Korean. Rooftop Korean always hits me with the hilarious Fast and the Furious quotes, and I freaking love it. I absolutely love it. Keep them coming, Rooftop. Good stuff. Can we talk about his acting in that scene, though? For being full frontal, he went from being vulnerable to doing his confident walk with so much ease, all while naked. That's a very good point, Vic. Yes. I know the dong kind of overshadows the scene, but when you take a step back and look at just the acting of Ewan Mitchell in that scene, yes, you're very right, because we see him, as soon as the curtain gets kind of whisked open, we instantly see Aemond kind of withdraw. He's instantly kind of embarrassed, and like you said, he's very vulnerable. But then he slowly but surely starts to become that confident Aemond again, where he stands up, full frontal and all, and says, you know, one whore is just as good as any other. And he just walks away very confident-like. So yes, all while naked, it was some very good acting, if nothing else. And I feel like that's right on par for Ewan Mitchell. I feel like Ewan Mitchell's one of the better actors on the show. And I just really can't wait for them to kind of open that character up a little bit more. And I get the feeling that's going to come after Rook's Rest as well. Considering what happens during the Battle of Rook's Rest and Aemond's part in the story going forward after Rook's Rest and the position he finds himself in after that battle, I definitely think we're going to start seeing a lot more Aemond in the second half of season 2, because we haven't seen a whole lot of him in these first 3 episodes. There's been very minimal Aemond scenes so far. And I think that's because they wanted to have some Aegon heavy scenes in these first few episodes, which they have. And I feel like Tom Glynn Kearney has been just killing it as Aegon on the show. So I definitely understand why they wanted to give Aegon a lot of screen time in these first few episodes, considering Rook's Rest is coming pretty soon. But I have a feeling after Rook's Rest, I think we will probably start to see Aemond become a little bit more prominent, probably get a little bit more screen time, and we'll start to see his character kind of flesh out a little bit more. But he's a phenomenal actor. Cannot take anything away from his performance. The guy is a phenomenal actor, for sure. For sure. Ulf is a legitimate dragon seed. Yes, we got some Ulf the White action. And again, I did enjoy the Ulf the White scenes. I just feel like they spent way too much time on him. In a season where screen time is very limited, I think they could have gotten the same point of cross in a fraction of the time, but I did still enjoy the Ulf the White scenes. It was pretty fun. It was pretty fun. Rhaenyra looks like Septon Unella. She really did, didn't she? Like when Rhaenyra was walking down the streets in that Septon uniform, she looked just like her. I mean, all she needed was a damn shame bell, and it would have been the exact same thing. Like, that's literally the only thing she was missing was a dang shame bell. Yeah, she looks just like her in that scene. Where's my shame bell?
Shame! Oh, shame! Oh, hail royalty! Shame!
Just like her, like really was channeling her in that scene. It looked very, very much reminded me of her as well, for sure. Good stuff. Very good stuff. Let's see what else we got. Oh, we got a $10 super chat from Bob Cam. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Very much appreciate that, my friend. When do you think we will see Black Alley? Enjoying your streams. Well, thank you for that. I very much appreciate that. That is high praise coming from all of you guys. I really, really appreciate that. I don't know when we're going to see Black Alley. I'll be honest. I was hoping that we were going to get a glimpse of Black Alley in this episode. Black Alley does play a pretty decent part in the Battle of the Burning Mill in terms of the revenge that she takes for Samwell Blackwood. So I was kind of hoping to see her in this episode, but maybe we'll see her when Cregan Stark comes back around. We do know that she does become Cregan Stark's wife. So I'm not 100% sure when we're going to see good old Black Alley. I was hoping to see a little glimpse of her in this episode. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure when we'll see her. It's I guess your guess is as good as mine at that point. I was hoping to see her in some Battle of the Burning Mill action with her weirwood bow and everything, but unfortunately they kind of glossed right over the Battle of the Burning Mill. We didn't get any action, so at this point I'm not sure when they'll introduce good old Black Alley. I am not sure. But thank you so much for the $10 super chat, and thank all of you guys for hanging out this evening. You guys are the absolute best. And Bob has a whoa coming his way, so thank you. Whoa! A whoa indeed. Yeah, I feel like Black Alley's a really good character. She's super fascinating. She's one of the just a straight up badass too. Like she's so freaking badass. Again, I was a little disappointed we didn't get a little bit more on the Battle of the Burning Mill. I know it is between secondary characters that aren't very prominent during the Dance of the Dragons, but considering the Battle of the Burning Mill is the first proper battle that takes place in the war, I was hoping to see a little bit more of it, and I was really hoping to see the weirwood bow scene as well. That is very famous in Fire and Blood. But yeah, at this point, I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure when we'll see Black Alley. Maybe we'll see her when Cregan returns. Maybe they'll throw her into the show before then. I'm not sure. I am not sure. Let's see what else we got. I believe whether it's the showrunners or someone who decided to propose this idea, but I believe Daemon will be turned into the Night King. What do you think? Ooh, interesting. I don't know how that would be possible, personally, because at this point, the Night King he's thousands of years old. The Night King was created by the children of, at least in the show version, the Night King was created by the children of the forest via dragonglass thousands of years ago. And we actually saw the actor who got turned into the Night King, and he looked nothing like Daemon. So as interesting as a theory as that potentially is, I think that's fan fiction at the end of the day. I don't think the show will go in that direction. I just don't see how I just don't see how Daemon goes from where he is now to becoming the Night King of all people. It just seems a little random. I guess anything's possible at the end of the day, but I'm not expecting that again. And based on what we know about the show, the Night King is already thousands of years old, so it's kind of impossible for Daemon to become the Night King. But that's just my opinion. Who knows what'll happen? Who knows what will happen? Now I think Harrenhal is just legitimately cursed and spooky. It is, and that was one of the funnest things about this episode, just for me personally, was trying to figure out what exactly was causing these visions for Daemon. Was it Alys Rivers getting inside his head? Was it the weirwood tree sending him some kind of vision, or was it just Harrenhal itself, kind of spooky, cursed Harrenhal getting inside of his head? That was one of the things I was having a lot of fun trying to decipher who was causing all of this stuff, who was giving these visions to Daemon, who was causing Daemon to have these hallucinations. My money's still on Alys Rivers. I get the feeling it was probably Alys Rivers playing with his mind, but it could very well just as easily have been Harrenhal or the Weirwoods too, I suppose. But yeah, that was one of the funnest parts of this episode for me, was trying to decipher what exactly is causing these visions for Daemon. Really fun stuff. And again, I cannot wait to get some more Daemon and Alys Rivers. They're two phenomenal characters. I think they're going to have some very interesting scenes. Even though they haven't had any proper dialogue together, that is what I'm really looking forward to. I'm really looking forward to like a proper dialogue scene between Daemon and Alys Rivers when they really finally get to meet proper style. And hopefully that'll happen soon. Hopefully that'll happen soon. No Hugh the Hammer this episode, and not in episode 4 either, from the look of the trailer. Yeah, we didn't get any Hugh this episode as well. And Hugh the Hammer is another character that I'm really impressed that they're kind of fleshing that character out a little bit more. As much as he is kind of a more minor character, it's nice when they give these characters a little bit more background, a little bit more character development, peel back those layers a little bit more. So I thought it was a pretty good choice to give Hugh the Hammer a family on the show and really just establish him as a family man. It was a nice take. I thought it was an interesting take because we don't really know a whole lot about Ulf and Hugh the Hammer from the book. All we know is that they're dragon seeds, pretty much. And Ulf really likes to drink. And Hugh the Hammer is reportedly very, very strong and wields a badass hammer. But other than that, yeah, I'm really enjoying some of the character development that they're giving to some of these characters, like Hugh and some of the other ones. So hopefully we can see a little bit more of that. Hopefully we can see a little bit more of that. What did the Ulf scene cost, and how much would it have cost to have some Blackwoods swing some swords? I'm right there with you, Channel, and now that's one of my biggest problems with season 2 as a whole. I feel like they are really mismanaging their screen time in certain episodes. Again, the Cregan thing is the most egregious error for me, in my opinion. I feel like they completely glossed over the Cregan Jace meeting. It was condensed down to a 6-minute scene. I just feel like the Jason Cregan scene deserved much more screen time. They didn't even touch on the Pact of Ice and Fire, which is pretty much the whole reason for Jace going to meet Cregan in the first place, is securing an alliance. And that happens when they secure the alliance that is known as the Pact of Ice and Fire, where Jace and Cregan both agree to marry their respective children to each other after the war. And yeah, it just feels like that it was incredibly glossed over way too fast, just like in this episode with the Blackwoods and Brackens. As much as I really wasn't expecting to see a full-on, full-pitch battle, I feel like at the very least we could have gotten one fight scene. Show the skirmish at the beginning. At least show a little bit of the action. And again, it comes down to time management for me personally. I feel like they are mismanaging time sometimes in certain scenes. As much as I did enjoy the Oath the White scene, I feel like they could have got the desired effect in a fraction of the time, which would have opened up some other screen time for maybe the Brackens and the Blackwoods, or maybe some more Daemon screen time. But that's just my take personally. I feel like they are kind of mismanaging some time in certain episodes. But yeah, I don't know what the Oath the White scene cost, but it probably did not cost much. But then again, they have a astronomical budget when it comes to House of the Dragon. HBO just throws truckloads of money at House of the Dragon. The budget is usually never a problem on these shows. For me, it just comes down to time management, I guess. For me, it just comes down to time management. And yeah, seeing Daemon shook for once was weird. Yeah, Daemon is one of these characters where he always seems to be very confident. He never seems to really get rattled by much. But in this scene, in this episode, that was very much not the case. We definitely saw legit fear on Daemon's face. And rightfully so. I mean, you got this creepy freaking lady kind of coming up to you, telling you you're going to die in this place just after you have a weird, trippy freaking DMT vision. Yeah, you can definitely see the fear in Daemon's eyes for one of the first times, really. Again, Daemon is always very kind of cool, calm, and collected, very composed. But we really start to see that fear, the fearful side of Daemon for really the first time. So yeah, that is a good point, Leo. We saw Daemon afraid. We saw Daemon afraid. Harrenhal, in my opinion, is legitimately cursed. My money is not on Alys. My money is on the accursed, restless spirits of the dead house whore, burned alive by Aegon the Conqueror. And that's what's so fun about Harrenhal. There's so much trippy stuff going on there. I feel like Harrenhal is the perfect place to give a character like Daemon these weird visions, because there's so many things that could be attributed to it. Yes, it could just be the curse of Harren the Black and all the sons getting roasted alive by Aegon the Conqueror. We have heard a lot of strange occurrences have been happening in Harrenhal ever since Aegon burnt it down. So yeah, it very well could have just been the curse of Harrenhal playing tricks on Daemon's mind. That's very well possible. I tend to think it was Alys personally, just because some of the stuff that we've heard behind the scenes from the actress talking about how she will display some level of influence over Daemon this season. So that kind of leads me to believe it was probably more Alys giving him these visions, but it definitely could have just as easily been Harrenhal or even the Weirwood Tree as well. But that's what's so fun about Harrenhal. It's so creepy. And I feel like they really nailed the aesthetic of Harrenhal. I know we talked about this a little bit earlier, but we see Harrenhal in Game of Thrones multiple times, and not once in Game of Thrones is Harrenhal portrayed as enormous and as good as it is on House of the Dragon. I feel like when we see Harrenhal in Game of Thrones, the sheer size and scope of it just doesn't really come through. Harrenhal is supposed to be the biggest castle in Westeros by far, one of the biggest castles in the entire world. And I just didn't really get that sense of scale from Harrenhal in Game of Thrones. But here on House of the Dragon, I feel like they really are giving Harrenhal that just enormous sense of scale. It does feel like it is this massive haunted castle. And I love that spooky feeling that Harrenhal gives off. So yeah, I definitely prefer the House of the Dragon version of Harrenhal for sure. For sure. Good stuff. Are Alys and Larry's mates? They were both outcast there. That'll be interesting to see as well. How much of a relationship is there in the books? We hear rumors that Alys was the wet nurse for Larry's and Harwinstrong. And there's even a rumor that Alys was potentially a wet nurse of their father as well. Which goes into that whole mysterious origin of Alys Rivers, where we're not quite sure just how old she is. I know the actress playing Alys Rivers has recently stated that she could be nearly 400 years old, but that seems like that's a little more show canon than book canon. But yeah, she's an incredibly fascinating character, and that'll be pretty interesting to see if there's some kind of relationship there. I don't know if we'll get any Larry's and Alys scenes. It just seems like those two characters are on very different trajectories. I don't know if we'll ever see them get a scene together, but it would be interesting to see how the dynamic of Harrenhal was when all of the Strongs were there. What kind of dynamic was developing between Larry's and Alys? Because like you said, they were kind of outcasts both. So I could totally see them maybe kind of forming a friendship, if nothing else, maybe. That's a good point. Definitely possible. Definitely possible. Awesome stuff. Awesome freaking stuff, guys. I feel like Daemon, for the first time, feels guilt. And that's really what came across for me in this episode as well. I feel like until Daemon actually saw the work with his own eyes, he wasn't fully going to appreciate, and it wasn't fully going to hit him. Once he actually sees the severed head of Jaehaerys, and coupled with young Rhaenyra there as well, yes, I 100% agree. I feel like we are finally seeing genuine guilt on Daemon's face for the first time. He's just one of those characters that just doesn't seem to feel bad for anything he does. I mean, he's the Rogue Prince at the end of the day for a reason. He earned that nickname for a very apt reason. He's not the Rogue Prince for nothing. But he is human at the end of the day. He does have a heart. He does feel. He does have feelings. He might not show them too often. But yeah, in this episode, in this scene, I feel like we really finally got to see the guilt side of Daemon, where he probably does feel very guilty for what he did, especially after seeing the boy in that state. Like seeing the kid's severed head, seeing Rhaenyra sew the head back on. I feel like at that point, the guilt was really setting into Daemon, whereas before then, he probably wasn't as guilty as he is now. So yeah, it was nice seeing his guilt. It was definitely nice seeing his guilt. Good stuff. Very good stuff. Well, I am looking forward to all of this stuff. We are definitely going to continue to break this thing down throughout the week. Yeah, FML asks, are the wigs better in season 2 than season 1? I think they are. In some cases, yes. I feel like I know the wigs were heavily criticized in season 1. And for good reason. Some of the wigs looked a little iffy at times, but I feel like season 2, the wigs look a little bit better, especially the Velaryons in particular. The Velaryons were some of the wigs that were coming under the most amount of scrutiny in season 1. But I feel like season 2, the wigs look a little bit better. I remember Baela in particular. A lot of people were not happy with Baela's wig in season 1, and her hair looks way better in season 2. So yeah, overall, I would say the wigs look a little bit better this season than they did in season 1, for sure. A little bit better. Seems like Kiwi agrees. Awesome. Awesome. Although Corlys and Rhaenyra could still be better. And honestly, as much as I loved seeing Cregan in the beginning, I feel like Cregan Stark's wig or his hair could have been a little bit better. I know he has blonde hair in real life, so I'm not sure if they dyed his hair for that scene or if they gave him a wig, but it certainly looked like a wig, and it looked like a wig that wasn't fitted too properly. But that's just a nitpick. Just a nitpick. Just a nitpick. But yeah, good stuff, guys. And yeah, I was wondering this as well. How does Daemon know what Jaehaerys looks like? And I get the feeling this was just part of the magic of the vision that he was having. I mean, I think, seeing the kid in that state, he just instantly knew that it was Jaehaerys. I get the feeling, and maybe that could just be attributed to the very nature of the vision in and of itself. Wigs are definitely better. Better still could use some work though. They need more baby hairs in the upsos. I don't know what that means. Personally, I'm not very versed in wigs. But no, I do agree. I feel like they are a little bit better in season 2. I mean, there's always some room for improvement, definitely. But overall, I feel like they did a little bit of a better job with the wigs in season 2. Definitely. Definitely. And yeah, the answer is magic. When in doubt, the answer is magic. Indeed. Indeed. But I am going to get ready to close it down now. Unfortunately, I do have to get up pretty early for work tomorrow, but we will continue to be breaking this episode down all week. Of course, we will be live this Saturday for our pregame and prediction show, and we will definitely be diving much more into House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 3. And of course, my Episode 3 review is loaded up on the channel. Definitely check that out if you haven't already. But overall, I'm really happy with House of the Dragon as a whole. I definitely have some problems with some of the pacings and some of the time management issues here and there. But overall, I'm really enjoying it. I love being back in the world of Westeros. I'm loving the sets, the aesthetic. It really feels like proper Westeros again. And I'm looking forward to seeing where some of these characters go. It was great to see Daemon and Alys Rivers have their first kind of meeting. Cannot wait to see some more from Alys Rivers in particular. I think she's going to be a very fascinating character. But overall, I think we're heading in a good direction. I think episode 4 next week is going to be absolutely insane when we finally get to the Battle of Rook's Rest, because I have been getting a lot of comments for these first 3 episodes that people have been a little disappointed that there hasn't been a whole lot happening. And I understand that to a certain extent. I guess me just being a book fan, that it doesn't take much to kind of make me happy when I see these small little book moments get brought to life on screen. It's just so awesome to see that sometimes I don't really need crazy action to enjoy it. But I think from episode 4 on, we're definitely going to see a shift in tone for the show, where it's going to start getting much faster. It's going to start getting much bloodier. We're going to start seeing characters and dragons start dropping like flies. So I really think the whole show as a whole is going to change its tone from episode 4 on. Rook's Rest is a major catalyst in the books, and it really shapes the rest of the Dance of the Dragons to come. And I feel like it'll be similar on the show as well. But oh yeah, before I forgot, Leo V, you reminded me. Ratings. Let's get our ratings like we usually do. Now, out of 10, I also gave this episode a 7. I enjoyed a lot of it. I really enjoyed the Daemon and Alys Rivers stuff at Harrenhal. I really enjoyed the scene between Alicent and Rhaenyra at the end of the episode. I feel like that was a really poignant scene, and I feel like that scene is going to have some lasting consequences going forward. Now that Alicent truly has that in the back of her mind, now that the seed has been planted in Alicent's mind, that maybe she misinterpreted what Viserys was saying there, and coupled with the fact that Rhaenyra is getting that confirmation that she knows deep down in her heart that Viserys didn't choose Aegon over her, because even Rhaenyra must have had a small part in the back of her mind, must have probably wondered if Alicent was telling the truth, if Viserys really did choose Aegon in those final moments. And I feel like Rhaenyra getting that confirmation in this scene is definitely going to help her going forward as well, knowing that Viserys didn't pass her up. And I definitely feel like this conversation is going to stick into Alicent's mind for a very, very long time. And I think she's going to start feeling a lot of guilt towards it as well, once she starts to come to the realization that she completely misinterpreted what Viserys said. So I really enjoyed the scene. I know not everybody liked it. I got a lot of comments actually saying they didn't like this scene at the end, which is totally cool. But just for me, in terms of character development moments, I really enjoyed what this scene laid out and the revelations that we got in the scene. But yeah, overall, I would give this episode a 7 out of 10. Definitely a little bit of room for improvement, but there was definitely some phenomenal scenes and some phenomenal acting. But yeah, sound off in the comment section, everybody. Where would you rate this episode out of 10? With 1 being shite and 10 being perfect, where would you rate episode 3 of season 2? Again, yeah, I'm at a 7. I'm with you, Leo. I am at a 7 out of 10. Jen Hack is at a 7 as well. Awesome. Kiwi Skirt is at a 6.5, and that's higher than my first viewing. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I like it. I like it. We got a 7.5 from Jess. That's a good score. Very good score. We got a 7 from Laura Butler as well. Awesome stuff, guys. Awesome stuff. Yeah, it was a good episode. Had some really good scenes. Obviously for me anyway, there could have been some things that could have been improved a little bit, but overall, I'm still really enjoying House of the Dragon. I love being back in the world of Westeros. And yeah, a solid 7 for me is decent. And Mother of Dragons gives it a 7 as well. Awesome. Wow, interesting. I got to watch it right now after the stream. Well, that you very well can do. And thank you so much, Kiwi Skirt, for dropping the link to our Discord in the chat as well. If anyone hasn't joined our Discord, definitely hop in there and join it. We did a kind of impromptu encore viewing of episode 3 last night in the Discord under the watch party, which was a lot of fun. And big thank you to everybody who came and hung out with Kiwi and I for that rewatch last night in the Discord. That was a lot of fun. And I think that's going to be something I'm going to try and do every week, where every week we'll watch the episode, the way we normally do. But later, afterwards, I'm going to probably try and host an encore viewing of the episode directly in the Discord watch party. So if that is something that you are interested in, definitely join the Discord and come and hang out with us for our watch parties. It's always a lot of fun diving into there and just hanging out and watching the episode together. But again, very much appreciate everybody for joining us this evening. Oh, we got an 8 for this episode as well. Hell yes. Nice score. I like it. Do you watch From? Absolutely. From and House of the Dragon are the 2 main shows that we cover here on the channel. Absolutely love From. I cannot wait for From season 3. And From was pretty much what the Discord was kind of built around. I had so many of our From crowd were really asking me to create a Discord where we can all kind of share theories and thoughts and stuff like that. And the Discord has really become a haven for From fans. So if you're a From fan, definitely come back and hang out with us as well. We are going to be covering all things From season 3. We got a lot of From content on the channel. Absolutely love From. And we got a $5 super chat from Leo V. Thank you so much, Leo V. Best scene was Moondancer chasing Cole. Great stream, Jeremy. Well, thank you so much for that, Leo. I very much appreciate that, my friend. You've been a huge supporter of the channel, and all of you guys have been so supportive of the channel. I just really can't thank each and every one of you enough. Just seeing that there is people that want to come and hang out and talk some House of the Dragon and From and all the other stuff that we talk here, it's super humbling, and I just can't thank each and every one of you enough. We got an awesome community building here, and you guys really are the best. And yes, I agree. The freaking Moondancer chasing freaking Sir Crispin scene was freaking awesome. Friggin' awesome. And it was great to see Moondancer in action as well. I know we saw some scenes in the trailers, but seeing Moondancer proper was really fun. And now I guess we're going to have to wait and see what the other 4 new dragons are going to be in season 2. We got 1 down, 4 more new dragons to go. And we'll be talking a little bit about that this Saturday as well, because I do know what other 4 dragons we will be seeing in season 2, but I won't spoil that just yet. And I'm sure there's a lot of you that probably know some of the dragons we're going to be seeing this season as well. But again, big thank you to each and every one of you. You guys really are the absolute best. I love diving into all of these things with everybody. We usually go live here on the channel every Saturday and Sunday night, and I try to do these Monday night after reviews for House of the Dragon as well. Our From streams are usually every Wednesday night, and we will definitely be having another one this Wednesday night. The Fromville Hour will be live Wednesday night, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and we will be diving into all things From season 3 predictions. So if you are a From fan, definitely come and hang out with us. The From streams go live every Wednesday night at 10 while we count down and wait for season 3 of From to eventually get here. And that's what's great. House of the Dragon is on right now, and once House of the Dragon ends, From season 3 should be starting not too much longer after that. So we have 2 awesome shows to look forward to back to back. We will be covering both of them extensively here on the channel. So if you are a From or a House of the Dragon fan, you are more than welcome here. You are more than welcome in the Discord, and we will be talking all things Westeros and Fromville over the next few months. So again, big thank you to each and every one of you for joining us this evening. And as always, stay safe out there, ladies and gentlemen. Be kind to one another. And as always, keep those tinfoil hats on, and I will see you on the next one. Bow.
threat of war looms.
There is no war so hateful as a war between kin.
I mean to fight this war and win it.
I will not be thought weak. I wish to spill blood.
And no war so bloody as a war between dragons.